We are joined by our administrative employees headed by Mrs. Julie B. Mascardo, our administrative officer. Welcome po sa inyo. And of course, our students of Diploma in Office Management Technology, our future administrative professionals. We wish to thank the Civil Service Commission for partnering with us this morning. A special mention to Ms. Grace and Mondia, our supervising HR specialist of the Civil Service. Thank you so much, ma'am, for arranging, coordinating, and hosting our Zoom meeting today. Salamat, Ms. Grace. And we acknowledge the cooperation of the Civil Service Commission, Office for Human Resource Management and Development, for approving our request. Mr. Fernando M. Porio, the Director 4, sir, and Attorney Rosalita B. Rances Pitaka, Director 3, who will also serve as our resource speakers. Okay, today we are meeting in virtual posture in the light of COVID-19 pandemic we face globally. Needless to say that this pandemic has significantly impacted the world, our country, and our educational system. Thanks to the technology, because we have an opportunity to meet even virtually this morning. So let's put some smiles on our faces as we are joined by distinguished persons from the Civil Service Commission. Let's open our hearts and minds to learn and be inspired, so we will be able to act and apply them in our respective professions. To formally open our program, let's put our hearts in the presence of the Lord as we join the doxology, and this will be followed by the Philippine National Anthem. Muli po, magandang umaga sa inyong lahat. And let me open this with remarks. Over the past 5 months, our university has engaged in undergoing online classes. So our internship or on-the-job training programs had been affected. So yung mga estudyante po namin ay hindi makalabas. Talagang online lahat ang gagawin, even the internship. So our internship or on-the-job training had been affected. While internship is a great way to build necessary skills, our students became engaged in attending webinars and class simulations, which we think as an alternative learning activity that may substitute some of the learnings they can derive from an actual internship activities. PUP Lopez Quezon branch is well pleased to acknowledge the Civil Service Commission, the Office for Human Resources Management Division, for partnering with us in this endeavor. Although traditional on-site internship cannot be accommodated during this time, this online lecture is the answer to our students so that they will become adept in workplace standards as they listen to experts and practitioners in this field. Not only this will help our students, this would also benefit our faculty and employees, increase understanding and boost their morale being public servants. So before we proceed to our discussion or the presentation of our speakers, let me discuss first about sino-sino po ba yung mga maging speaker natin at ano po yung ginagawa nila sa civil service. Okay, since our speakers are from the department or Office for Human Resource Management and Development, sila po yung mga tao na nagdi-direct, no? They direct the affairs of the Office of HRMD, which is responsible in establishing, managing, and monitoring an integrated and gender-related HR plan. Napakaganda nung department nila. They develop and enhance personnel management policies in the areas of career development, recruitment and selection, employee welfare and discipline, performance evaluation, compensation and benefits, incentives and rewards, HR information system, and employee relations for service excellence. So sila po yung best person na makakausap natin ngayon who will be handling this important topics. And without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce our first speaker. We are blessed to have with us Attorney Rosalita Rances Pitaka, the Director 3, Office for Human Resource Management and Development, to discuss about the ethical standards for future public officials and administrative professionals. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give a virtual clap to our first speaker. Ma'am.
Yes. Good morning, everyone. How are you today? It is so nice to see all of you here, although virtually. Okay, so is my audio clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. So I am I'm Director Sally from the Office for Human Resource Management and Development, or OHRMD. Prior to joining the HR, I was assigned at the CSE's Office for Legal Affairs, or OLA. And part of the mandate of OLA as the legal arm of the Commission is to lecture on civil service law and rules. And when we talk about ethical standards in government for future public servants, including those who are already in the government service, we are referring to no other than the Republic Act 6713. In fact, this law is a mandatory topic in onboarding or orientation programs for newly hired government employees. And so let me now share my screen. So can you see the screen, the slides?
Yes.
Okay, so this is a discussion of a law, usapang batas. But we are going to make this simplified, and for added clarity, I will be citing actual examples and cases decided by the Supreme Court applying the provisions of Republic Act 6713. Okay, so and I would also want this one to be interactive. So from time to time, I would ask some basic questions from you. So basic lang. So it's not like in the law school where we have our nerve-wracking oral recitations. So this one is just sharing. Okay, so on your screen, as you can see, is the title, the full title of Republic Act number 6713. Perhaps this is one of the laws passed by our Congress with a very long title. So the complete title is an act establishing a code of conduct and ethical standards for public officials and employees to uphold the time-honored principle of public office being a public trust, granting incentives and rewards for exemplary service, enumerating prohibited acts and transactions, and providing penalties for violations thereof and for other purposes. But in short, we call this law as the Code of Conduct and Ethical Standards for Public Officials and Employees. Okay, so RA 6713, just a brief background of this law. So this was promulgated on February 20, 1989. So nag-anniversary siya lately kasi today is Feb 26. Okay, so 1989. So were you born already during this time? So if you were born between early 80s up to year 2000, so you are part of what we call the millennials. But of course, like the rest of the Filipinos, you might have heard, and you should have heard of the People Power, diba? People Power Revolution in 1986. Okay, so you have heard about it in the news, or you may have read about it in your history books, or even discuss it in your history classes. So at that time, 1989, people were clamoring for a clean and honest government because we ushered in a new administration under the leadership of then former President Corazon Cuanco Aquino, and the Aquino administration, the Cory Aquino administration, was pushing for reforms. It was advocating for transparency and accountability in government. Hence, the passage of RA 6713 was in response to that call. And the Civil Service Commission was really tasked to issue the implementing rules and regulations of RA 6713. So we issued the IRR. Okay. For a while, I cannot go to the next page. Okay, here, it's now there. So when we talk about RA 6713, who are covered by this law? So the provision here states that all officials and employees in the government, so elective officials. So who are elective officials? So those we put into office through election. So we have our national election, wherein we elect our president, our vice president, our senators. And then we also have our local elections, di ba? When we elect our mayors, our governors, our councilors, up to our barangay kagawad. So they are all covered by 6713. And then also appointive officials and employees. So who are they? So like us, and like your professors in the PUP, those who are issued appointments in accordance with the civil service law and rules. So in our appointment paper, we consider either we are under permanent or temporary status. So what sets apart a permanent employee from a temporary one? So a permanent employee enjoys security of tenure. So they cannot be removed from the service, except of course for cause and after due process. While a temporary employee is there in the office for a certain period of time. So say 1 year under the rules, but renewable up to a number of 5 times under our omnibus rules and appointments. So even if you are a temporary appointee, you are covered by 6713. And then whether in the career or non-career service, so who are part of the career service. So like I mentioned, those with permanent appointments, those whose entrance in the service are on the basis of merit and fitness. So merit and fitness meaning through quantitative exams, so through interview and other modes of assessment. As against non-career service, so sila itong mga hired because they enjoy the trust and confidence of the appointing authority. So they are the primarily confidential and co-terminus employees. And yet, they are also covered by 6713, including our military and police personnel, whether or not they receive compensation and regardless of the amount. Okay, so now we go to declaration of policy. So almost all laws have what we call declaration of policy. And this is usually taken from a constitutional provision because our constitution is considered as the supreme law. So siya yung the highest law of the land from which all other laws issued by Congress, all other rules and issuances issued by government agencies must comply and must bow down. So in this particular law, RA 6713, this is taken from Article 11, Section 1 of our 1987 Constitution, which is about accountability of public officers. And it says there that public office is a public trust. And extracted from that constitutional provision, so it says here that at all times, okay, so not only from the start or when we are newly hired, so at all times, we shall be accountable to the people and we shall discharge our duties with utmost responsibility, integrity, competence, loyalty, and we have to act with patriotism and justice. We have to lead modest lives and we should uphold public interest over personal interest. Okay, so these statements will be elaborated in the succeeding slides. So I remember when I was in law school, so our professor in administrative law would tell us to memorize this provision, not only because this is a favorite question in the bar exams and even in other government exams, but according to him, when we join now the government, if we know by heart this provision, we will not be among the corrupt government personnel. So parang it's a bit sad, di ba? That we have this negative perception of government employees. So talagang the burden is on us, public servants, to prove these people wrong and to show to them that we are assets of the government and not liabilities when we were hired. Okay, so now we go to the norms of conduct because this is very important. That's why every time that I will lecture, I really have to go one by one and not just yung pasadahan siya. So if you will be asked, how many norms are there in 6713? So please remember the lucky number 8. Okay, so there are 8 norms of conduct enumerated in Republic Act 6713. So before I will proceed to the discussion of each of the norm, let's just have a quick basic question lang. So I know some of you have plans of joining the government. So usually when I lecture, I would ask the participants who are already in the service, to recall what was the reason why they joined the government. So here, since most of you are still are not yet in the service, so can you just share to me why do you want to join the government? So here in the Zoom, we have the raise hand button, right? So anyone can just press the raise hand button, or if you don't have that in your device, you can just press the thumbs up sign. Okay, can someone please share, especially those planning to join the government? Why do you want to join the government? So are we seeing a raise hand? Or if it is okay that I will just randomly call someone. Kasi this is just sharing, no right or wrong answer. And as I said, this is not like the the law school recitation na talagang nanginginig kami, and sometimes our professors would be so mean na hindi kami pauupuin hanggat hindi siya satisfied sa explanation namin. Okay, can I call Miss sorry ha. Okay, James Argel. Please unmute and share if you want to join the government. So what's the reason? Grace, perhaps you can unmute kasi ano pala sila, naka-default na they are muted.
Actually, kaya ko dala mag-unmute.
Kaya po. Okay, sige. Sinong mag-volunteer to recite, to share bakit gusto nilang mag-join sa government? Or you can chat. You can chat your answer. It's okay also to chat. Kasi it's better if we know kung ano ba talaga yung reason bakit tayo magjo-join sa gobyerno na meron din naman tayong tinatawag na private sector, di ba? Okay, do we have answers in the chat?
Hello po.
Yes po. So can you state your name please?
Janica Mabilangan po.
Yes, I'm seeing in my screen. Hi, Miss Janica. You cannot turn on by your video for us to see you. Sige, Miss Janica.
Ma'am, gusto ko po magtrabaho sa isang government kasi may mga beneficiaries po siya na ino-offer, and yung pag nag-retired ka po is may pension ka po.
That's good. Yes, it's true. We have the GSIS pension, and yes, there are a lot of benefits in the government. Thank you, Miss Janica. Okay.
Sige
Any
po.
other who wants to share? Bakit kaya gusto nilang mag-join sa government? So tama yun, stability yun financial stability na which we have in the government.
Direct, we have comments po sa chat box.
Okay, sige, please. I cannot see the comments, Grace. Sige, please read.
From Miss Marian Serrano, I
Mhm.
want to serve and I want to be part of the government. I want to enhance my communication skills too.
Wow, okay, that's good. Yes, there are so many opportunities for you to be for your skills on communication, not just communication na written, but also written and oral. Ang dami. We have a lot of learning and development activities. Oh, so thank you so much for your answer. So I'm glad that you answered like financial stability kasi talagang yan naman ang tama ang gusto ng marami, and then yun yung to be able to enhance yourselves. And buti na lang walang nag-answer, no, that they want to join the government because they want to get rich real quick. Because definitely the government is not into pyramiding. Okay, we are not here to make money. In fact, sabi ng Supreme Court, one can never be wealthy in government because the reason why we should be here is to render public service. So you are right on track because our first norm is commitment to public interests. Okay, so this provision, Section 4A, says that at all times, public officials and employees shall uphold public interest over and above personal interest. And all government resources and powers of the respective offices must be employed and used efficiently, effectively, honestly, and economically, particularly to avoid wastage in public funds and revenues. So as early as 1989, when this law was passed, cost-cutting measures in the government are already in place. So mandated na kami na to avoid wastage in public funds and revenue. So even dito sa office, in other offices, so simple acts like we would not, we will only turn on the aircon before 9 o'clock or not very early and turn it off mga 5 p.m. before 5 p.m. to save on electricity. And then we would also recycle or reuse government papers or mga bond papers or other mga materials. And then of course we have disbursements, di ba? We spend amount using government funds to for example, pursue activities in the office or our programs. And for that, we have attachments. So we always attach official receipts, we attach attendance to show where the money was spent. So yan yung mga examples. So how can we manifest commitment to public interest in our workplace? So here, okay, so some of the examples are we must not use our position, our office, or government affiliation, information, or property to pursue our personal interest. So very basic lang. For example, if you are using a private vehicle and going to the office, and then we all know that there are days that we cannot use our car because of coding, di ba? But just the same, for example, that I will I will insist on using my private car even if it's coding. So I'm now in the road, and here comes the MMDA. So the MMDA will try to apprehend me. And then I will just show my big ID kasi may big ID kami sa government, what we call the ARTA ID. So I'll show my ID and I'll say, boss, ako si Attorney Sally, taga CSC ako, o taga CSC Legal ako, or the HR. So that is a clear example of using my position or office to pursue my personal interest. In fact, simple acts of obeying traffic laws and regulation is a manifestation that we are committed as a public servant, di ba? So basic lang yun na example, pero it has a big impact dito sa sa public natin. And then public funds and property should be utilized with the diligence of a good father of the family because we are part of the government. So please take note of the phrase good father of the family. So at that time, the framers of our law were not yet gender sensitive. Kasi meron namang good mother of the family, di ba? So for you to be pag gender sensitive ka, you will use good parent of the family. But right now, our law makers are already well oriented sa gender. Yung kasi Gen Z na tayo, gender equality, diversity, and social inclusion, and which is a topic of Director Ping later. So what does it mean when we say diligence of a good parent of the family. Sorry, I will use the parent kasi gender sensitive nga tayo. So it means the care and the caution that is ordinarily observed in handling the affairs of the family, like taking care of family expenses and our properties, like that. So ganun din pala tayo if we are using public funds and property. So like a good parent of the family. So now we go to the next norm. Second norm na tayo. So this is professionalism. So section 4B, so it says here that we shall discharge our duties and responsibilities with the highest, so hindi ordinary ha, take note, highest degree of excellence, professionalism, intelligence, and skill. And when we enter public service, we do so with utmost devotion and dedication to duty. And we shall not endeavor to discourage wrong perceptions of our roles as dispenser or peddlers of undue patronage. So the Supreme Court defined a professional as someone who engages in an activity with great competence. So indeed, to call a person a professional is to describe that person as competent, efficient, experienced, and proficient or polished. So a good example of displaying professionalism is the one cited in the Supreme Court case, 2011 case ito, Samson versus Rivera. So the petitioner here was found guilty by the Supreme Court of conduct and becoming a public officer. Si Samson here was a department head of a national government agency. And then she agreed to help her friend, the respondent, Rivera, to have the latter's land located in Cavite registered under the Torrens system. So petitioner Samson told the respondent that the expenses would reach 150,000 and she accepted 50,000 from the respondent, supposedly to cover the initial expenses for the titling of the land. However, Samson failed to accomplish the task because it was found out that the land is a government property. So if it is a government property, it cannot be titled to anybody. So, eto na, bumalik na si respondent, naningil na kay petitioner. But the petitioner failed to return the 50,000 pesos. So, she was sued for estafa and an administrative complaint was also filed against her for grave misconduct and conduct unbecoming a public officer. So here, ano sabi ng Supreme Court? Oy, guilty siya because, sabi ng Supreme Court, the observance of professionalism also means upholding the integrity of public office by endeavoring to discourage wrong perception of the roles as dispensers or peddlers of undue patronage. So cited yan doon sa preceding section, di ba, that I mentioned. And then as a public official or employee, we should avoid daw any appearance of impropriety affecting the integrity of government services. In fact, petitioner Samson was not from the LRA, such as to have that authority to process or facilitate the titling of the land kasi from another government agency. Okay, so that's very clear ha, and let's us remember this ruling. So we now go to the next. The third norm na tayo, so justness and sincerity. So this provision says that at all times kami sa government shall remain true to the people. So ang favorite dito sa provision ng 6713 yung phrase na at all times. So panindigan talaga namin for the rest of our stay in government. Hindi siya at the beginning lang na medyo bago-baguhan pa. Okay, and we shall also not discriminate against anyone, especially the poor and the underprivileged. And again, at all times, we respect the rights of other. So, do you remember yung former president na may tagline who said na, kayo ang boss ko? Na-remember niyo yun kung sino siya? Okay, so that tagline is true kasi nasa batas yun. Because our loyalty should be to the government and the people we serve. And so we shall not be discriminating, di ba, against anyone. And we include na also we shall not discriminate persons with disabilities and LGBTQIA. So not because we are mandated by law, kasi may law lang persons with disability, di ba, PWDs, but because we are pursuing equity and inclusivity in the workplace. So yun, no one should be left behind. So now, another question, basic lang naman to. Can you cite one example of how you respect the rights of other people? So going back to the basics, kasi ano to manners talagang pinag-uusapan natin. And we want people to join the government equipped with the right attitude. Okay, so just one example. You can just type in the comment box if you want. Just one example of how you respect the rights of other people. So do we have an answer, Grace?
Wala po sa ngayon. Typing pa po siguro sila.
Okay, sige. Nag-iisip pa tayo. Pero I want to know kung anong example nyo on respecting the rights of other people. Kasi this is very important when you join the government. So anyone can share? Sige, you can just turn on your microphone and give us one example.
We have one comment po sa chat box.
Sige. Okay, so what is that?
From Sir Dave Marcaida, kapag narespeto mo time nila by immediately acting on the request.
Wow, very good. Oo nga, time bound si Sir Dave, no? Tamang-tama siya. Yes, correct. Ganun din tayo sa government talaga when you join. May specific timelines tayo to do all of the tasks and assignments natin. And right now, because we are in the pandemic, we have the COVID-19 virus. So one way of respecting the rights of other people, especially the right to live, kasi the right to life is very important, is when we wear face mask and face shield, we observe physical or social distancing, and we frequently wash our hands because it means we are trying to avoid transmission of the virus. So that's respecting the rights of other people. Okay, thank you, Sir Dave, for the answer. So now, how can we manifest justness and sincerity? So it means here that we serve people equally. So regardless of where they come from. So sometimes clients coming to the office would come from the different parts of the country, from Luzon, Visayas, or Mindanao. So we accord the same service to them, regardless of where they come from. Regardless of how they look or dress. Kasi lalo nang hindi tayo discriminating pagdating sa appearance. And regardless of position, rank, or status, and religious affiliation. So equal talaga yung treatment natin, the same. Kahit na high-ranking official yan or a very popular personality ang mag-visit ng office or a lowly employee na sinasabi natin. So walang discrimination. Okay, applying justness and sincerity. So ito naman, justness and sincerity stem from a basic value called honesty. So sabi dito, honesty is the first chapter in the book of wisdom. Okay, so if we are honest, so everything else follows. We are fair, we are truthful, we have integrity, and we have that accountability. So it also leads, of course, yan, to loyalty, fairness, and truth. And then, but why do some people say na honesty is such a lonely word? Because everyone is so untrue. Or as the song goes lang yan, ha? So please remember na honesty is very important when you join the government. Kasi ayaw natin ng, magbe-breed kasi ng corruption pag dishonest ang government employee. So here, we now go to number 4, norm. So public officials and employees shall provide service to everyone without unfair discrimination and regardless of party, affiliation, or preference. So political neutrality. So if you are a government employee, so you will render service to anyone, even if that person belongs to another political party or the opposing party na you are not supporting in the election. So walang discrimination na naman. So kahit sino yan, kung orange ba siya, yellow siya, or blue, so you will render the same service. So how can we manifest political neutrality? So we have to promote impartiality and objectivity in the exercise of our duties and responsibilities in the face of political bias or pressure. And we have to be neutral to refrain from taking part directly or indirectly in a conflict or struggle between two or more competing groups. So on the contrary, we need to mediate or conciliate, diba? If there are parties who are not in agreement with each other, so we conciliate, we mediate to promote peace and to bring the parties to a mutual agreement. And itong last sentence, we are prohibited from participating actively in political campaigns. Kasi we have an administrative offense na engaging in partisan political activity. Kasi apolitical ang offices natin, di ba? Non-partisan. So our only duty is to vote. So we cannot campaign. We cannot do acts designed to promote the election or defeat of a particular candidate to a public office. Pero may exception yan. Those who are holding political positions. So yung mga nasa political offices, like the office of the president, office of the vice president. Okay? So now we go to number 5. The fifth norm is responsiveness to the public. So it's a lengthy provision, but I would like to focus your attention to the underlined sentences or words. So we extend prompt, courteous, and adequate service to the public. So when we say prompt, without delay, so very tama-tama yung sinabi ni Sir Dave na may timeline. Kasi talagang may timeline kami. So if the boss will say within the day, so within the day talaga yan. Prompt kasi in fact, we have a no noon break policy to ensure that we have continuous and uninterrupted service sa clientele. And then courtesy, so basic yan when we join the government. Service with a smile, so always smile to the clients. Do not look mad or ang sungit-sungit ang taray-taray or you are looking tired all the time. So dapat courtesy, service talaga with a smile. And adequate service to the public. So adequate service, yan daw yung competent and excellent service that our taxpayers deserve. So palagi tayong binabalikan ng mga taxpayers, di ba? If they will see na incompetent tayo sa government. And then it's also important that the government officials and employees will provide information on their policies, procedures in clear and understandable language. Ito yung tinatawag na Citizens Charter. So if you notice, when you go to a particular agency, government agency, in front or at the main entrance, may Citizens Charter dyan na tinatawag. Yung mga billboards or sometimes na sila, high-tech na sila, mga infographics na sila in front. So yan is mandated ng ease of doing business na meron tayong Citizens Charter in a conspicuous place. So hindi dapat hidden siya, dapat pagpasok ng tao sa office because that details the information na kailangan. For example, kailangan ng checklist of requirements for each type of request or application. So dapat naka-enumerate. And then yung Citizen Charter dapat will provide a procedure to obtain a particular service. And then the persons responsible for each step. Then the maximum time to complete the process, the documents to be presented by the requesting party, if necessary, the amount, kung may bayad, kunyari magkukuha ka ng certificate of no pending case. So how much is the amount to be paid? So dapat malinaw din siya. And the procedure for filing complaints. So malinaw yan sa Citizens Charter. And then we also encourage suggestions. That's why in all government offices, meron tayong suggestion box na tinatawag. But right now, since every office is now going online, so nasa websites na rin. So it's easy to reach out to agencies right now. You can just chat, you can just PM. In fact, you can directly communicate through their websites or you can just email them. So pwede siyang mode of suggesting to the agency. Okay? So how can we be responsive to the public? So it refers to our awareness of other people's needs with the ability to give appropriate assistance to such needs. So simply means we serve them again courteously, promptly, and adequately. And if you recall, dati may tagline ang CSC na mamamayan muna, hindi mamaya na. So still we're following this one. And since we are now in the pandemic, one way is for agencies to adapt to the changing times, to adapt to the situation. So an example is government services now are now online. So in our office, kasi nasa HR kami, we now have online recruitment process to be responsive to the public while we are in this pandemic. So online na kami from receipt of our job application up to hiring. So pag hinire, online din siya. So i-email din namin yung decision ng appointing authority, yung commission. So ganun tayo, if we want to be responsive to the public, we need to adapt, we need to be agile and to be resilient. So we go to the sixth norm. Okay, so ito yung nationalism and patriotism. And this is very important. Ha? It says here that at all times, we shall be loyal to the Republic of the Philippines. So hindi po siya People's Republic of China or Republic of Korea. So our loyalty should be to the Republic of the Philippines and to the Filipino people. So we promote the use of locally produced goods, resources, and technology. And we encourage appreciation and pride of country and people. Okay, now more than ever, we need to go and support local because we know what happened to our economy, di ba, with the pandemic. So a lot of businesses, especially mga small, medium lang na enterprises, were closed during the pandemic. So we need to help one another. So please patronize local products. Now is not the time to patronize imported products kasi we need to help our Filipino people, yung mga countrymen natin. And come to think of it, we have a lot of products which are of high quality and export quality, such as the shoes made in Marikina. So ano yan? Talagang pang-export. And then yung mga bags, furnitures. So I remember the furnitures made by the company of Kenneth Cobonpue in Cebu City. So his clients are Hollywood stars. All the popular Hollywood stars are buying his furnitures. It means kasi ang ganda ng craftsmanship ng Pinoy. So something to be proud of, okay? So please remember to, right now, we have to support Filipino products. So how can we manifest, how can we be nationalistic and patriotic? So example niyan, love for one's country. So how do we show our love to our country? When you enter the government, you will be signing an oath of office. So meron siyang Civil Service Form 32. So the contents there are manifestations of your love to your country. Kasi sasabihin mo doon na you will bear true faith and allegiance to the country. You will obey the laws and the rules and the regulations issued by the government. So yan. Paano pa rin tayo magiging patriotic? So simple act like joining flag raising and flag lowering activities or ceremonies. So attend tayo kasi ano lang siya, very short lang naman yan. It will not take so much of your time. Diba? So being nationalistic is to be proud talaga of our heritage, know our history, and learn from the mistakes of the past. Okay, so now we go to the seventh norm, and this is commitment to democracy. So here it says that we have to commit ourselves to the democratic way of life and values. So we maintain the principle of public accountability and manifest by deeds. So deeds, hindi lang siya orally ha, the supremacy of civilian authority over the military. And again, at all times. So ito, after siguro nito, ang maalala nyo at all times. Uphold the Constitution and put loyalty to country above loyalty to persons or party. So our country is Republican and democratic. So hindi siya monarchical, hindi siya communist, at hindi pa tayo federal. So ano pa lang yun, talks pa lang yun to have a federal government. Pero right now, democratic country tayo. So we enjoy a lot of freedom. Diba? Marami tayong freedom na na-enjoy. Sige, let's go back to the basics. So what is democracy? So it is both a form of government and a way of life. So as a form of government, it simply means a government for the people, by the people, and of the people. So ano tayo, we are, yung voting populace, yun yung nag-determine ng mga laws and rules natin. Not even the president lang. Okay, so in a democratic form of government, the people enjoy freedom and sovereignty. justice as well as human rights. So ang dami nating freedom. We enjoy academic freedom sa mga SUCs like the PUP. And then we enjoy freedom of expression, FOI yan. We enjoy freedom of religion. We enjoy freedom of the press. Because all of these are mentioned in our 1987 Constitution. So hindi pwede siyang pagbabawalan. Okay, so now, pag sinasabi nating democratic country, so what are the features? So these are some features of democracy. So a rule of law and not of men. Ano ibig sabihin yan? So basic lang, it means that the law applies to everyone equally. So it means that no one is above the law. It is also popularly understood as a government of law and not of men. And while the law may be harsh, it is the law. So Dora Lex said Lex, but we have to follow. And we follow the law, hindi the person ordering us to do so. Kasi govern tayo ng laws, okay? Hindi tayo governed by people or by men. And then sovereignty of the people, isa din yung feature of democracy kasi nasa constitution din yan natin. Ours is a democratic and republican state. Sovereignty resides in the people and all government authority emanates from them. And number 3, government officials and employers are accountable to and are merely trustees of the people. That's why we have offenses in the government. So merong mga administrative offenses to ensure na if we commit violation, so meron kaming sisingilin kami doon sa mga administrative offenses. Pwede kaming file ng cases. And then another feature, and this is very important for us in the Civil Service Commission, is the presence of a civil service system that is founded on merit and fitness. That's why we have qualification standards. So when you join the government, may tinatawag kaming QS. So QS, yun yung merong education, eligibility, experience, and training. Why do we have QS? Kasi we want people to join us based on merit and fitness. If we don't have those set of standards, so anyone na lang can join the government. And ayaw niya ng government because it's in the constitution and it is in the administrative code that those who join the government should be the most fit. So not just anybody. Okay, so that's why in the CSE, we are espousing for meritocracy in the government. So marami na ba sa inyong nag-take ng civil service exam? Oh, may announcement siguro ang CSC later on the just check the website for announcements on the conduct of exams. So now we go to the last norm kasi 'di ba 8 norms tayo. And some people in the government would only remember this. Nakakalimutan nila yung iba. Ito yung palagi na naalala lang. Simple living. So here it says that public officials and employees and our families shall lead modest lives appropriate to our positions and income. We shall not indulge in extravagant or ostentatious display of wealth in any form. But take note that it doesn't mean here that we will live in poverty, that we will deprive ourselves, or we will not look presentable. So hindi naman ganun. We live, it means that we just live within our means, so appropriate to our positions and income. Kasi otherwise, kung hindi kami magli-live na, kung very disproportionate yung lifestyle namin, we might be subjected to a lifestyle check by the ombudsman. So talagang malinaw na living within our means pag nasa government. So ito siya, visible means of income as correctly disclosed in our ITR, in our annual SALN, and other documents relating to financial and business interests and connection. So yan yung simple living ha, and kasama dyan yung sa families namin. So to recap, here are the 8 norms of conduct. So first is commitment to public interest, professionalism, justness and sincerity, political neutrality, responsiveness to the public, nationalism, and patriotism, commitment to democracy, and simple living. So later on, we'll have a Q&A. So later on na lang tayo mag-entertain ang questions. So aside from norms, the RA 6713 also enumerates duties of public officials and employees. Please take note for the professors, for those who are government servants here, you have a PDF, di ba? Position description form. So, yan when you first enter the service, meron kang pinipirmahan, detailing the specific duties and responsibilities that you are going to perform, specific to your unit or division. So, kung cashier ka, so yung anong gagawin mo as a cashier. So, kung treasurer ka, so anong gagawin? And take note na on top of those duties and responsibilities mentioned in your PDF, we have the duties here enumerated by 6713 within which we have to follow and comply. So the first one is to act promptly on letters and requests. Okay, so it says here that within 15 working days from receipt, we shall respond to letters, telegrams. So wala naman na telegram siguro ngayon ba? Meron pa. Email na palagi, no? Or other means of communication sent by the public, and the reply must contain the action taken on the request. However, this has been amended, itong 15 working days. And I mentioned a while ago about EODB. So ito yung Ease of Doing Business and Efficient Government Service Delivery Act of 2018, which is the landmark issuance of the Duterte administration. Kasi ito na yung nag-streamline ng mga government transactions and processes. So streamlining means yung 15 working days na sinasabi in the preceding section, nagiging 3 working days na lang siya for simple transactions. So simple meaning requiring only ministerial action or inconsequential lang siya, evaluation lang of documents. 7 working days for complex. Pag complex na transactions, ito na yung kailangan ng evaluation of the request or of the document submitted. And then 20 working days for highly technical. So highly technical meaning yung kailangan mo na ng thorough research. So take note na bound tayo, otherwise kung hindi natin ifa-follow yan, may criminal and administrative liability tayo. Pag lumagpas tayo ng 3 or 7 or 20 working days. So another duty of public officials and employees to submit annual performance reports. While it says here that all heads or responsible officers and agencies of the government must submit, it doesn't mean you as an employee will not take part, because your inputs and the inputs of your specific department or office will be consolidated kasi annual accomplishment report of the agency to be submitted within 45 working days from the end of the year. So yung annual performance report, syempre nandun na yung mga achievements ng office, ng agency, nandun na yung mga projects and programs that were implemented. And in fact, itong annual accomplishment report that we submit to the Department of Budget and Management and even to the Office of the President is a requirement for us to claim our performance-based bonus or PBB. So next is to process documents and papers expeditiously. So ang sinasabi lang dito sa Section 5C, for us to be efficient and expedite ang mga papeles, we should have not more than 3 signatories sa mga documents. Otherwise, kasi kung more than 3 yan, like 5 or 10 signatories, so tapos na lang yung yung request mo, kung gusto mo mag-bar leave, tapos na lang yung bar, pero hindi pa natapos ang 10 signatures. Okay, so in short, talagang we comply with the not more than 3 signatories. In fact, in the absence of the duly authorized signatories, the next in rank shall sign for and in behalf, diba, of the head. So malinaw yan. Kung meron kayo nakita dyan na ang daming pinapapirmahan, umabot ng more than 3, so that's a violation of 6713. So another one is to act immediately on the public's personal transaction. So the previous sections were on written correspondence. Ito naman, when clients are going to visit to our office, so personal silang pumunta. So we have to attend to anyone who wants to avail of our services and at all times act promptly and expeditiously. So ganon din siya na I mentioned na noon break policy tayo. So talaga sa government, noon break, but it doesn't mean that we will not take our lunch. So it only means na we have to adjust a working schedule such that there will be people manning the office at 12 noon. So some of the employees will take their lunch earlier para tuloy-tuloy lang yung serbisyo. Okay, number 5 is to make documents accessible to the public. So ito na yung sinasabi ko kanina na right to information yan, freedom of information. Right to information on matters of public concern. So pag mga public documents, you can request for copies or you can inspect but within reasonable working hours. But there are exceptions. So usually ang mga law, ang mga batas natin, may exceptions. In fact, some laws, meron pa yung exceptions to the exceptions. So common naman yan kasi hindi naman rigid ang mga laws na kailangan dikahon na ganyan lang. So ang exception dyan to right to information, number one, if the information record or document is kept secret in the national interest of national defense, security, or the conduct of foreign affairs. So if our Department of National Defense, DND, or our Department of Foreign Affairs would certify that the disclosure of the public documents will be a threat to our national security or will affect our relations, the conduct of foreign relations. So, hindi po siya i-disclose. Okay? So, ang number 2 naman, if the disclosure would put the life and the safety of an individual in imminent danger. So, between the people's right to information and one's right to life, mas paramount ang right to life natin. Kasi enshrined yan in our 1987 Constitution, Bill of Rights. So hindi pwedeng uunahin natin na mag-disclose, may divulge, pero mamamatay na yung tao. Okay, so put the life and safety of an individual in imminent danger, so we cannot disclose pag ganyan. Okay, number 3, if the information, record, or document comprises of drafts. So the underlined word is drafts. Drafts of decisions, orders, rulings, policy decisions, memoranda. Why drafts? Kasi pag drafts, internal pa yan. So it's not yet finalized. So it means that confidential pa yan siya. What should be disclosed to the public are signed and approved documents signed by the authorized signatories. So hindi lang draft kasi hindi pa yan, nasa loob pa natin yan sa office. Okay? So hindi pwede i-divulge yan. And number 4, if the information record or document requested are recognized exemption as provided by law or settled jurisprudence or falls within the concepts of established privilege. So ito na yung sinasabi nilang privilege communication rule. So meron palang ganito. Yes, meron siya. Sa under the law, privilege communication yung communication between husband and wife. So during the marriage, husband or the wife cannot testify against one another, except lang if the one is filing a criminal case against the other. So privilege yan. So hindi mo pwedeng pilitin ang husband na mag-testify sa information pertaining to his wife or vice versa. Another example of privileged communication is the communication between lawyer and client. So bound kami by the code of ethics ng lawyers na hindi namin i-disclose yung information that we gathered because of the lawyer-client relationship. Also, yung communication between a doctor and a patient, a priest and a penitent. So when we confess, so rest assured na bawal si father mag-divulge. So kay father lang yun, hindi yan i-divulge kasi privileged communication yun when you confess to a priest. Okay, so clear yan siya na exception to the right to information. Okay, so yun na. So take note na there are 5 duties of public officials and employees on top So aside from the duties and responsibilities enumerated in your position description form once you join the government. So i-recap lang natin para ma-recall nyo madali. So number 1 is we act promptly on letters and requests and take note of the periods that I mentioned under EODB. And then we submit annual performance report kasi required yan, hindi dahil gusto naming magka-bonus, pero for the public to know what are our achievements. Number 3 is to process documents and papers expeditiously. Number 4 is we act immediately on the public's personal transaction and we make documents accessible to the public except the exceptions that I mentioned. So mga norms and conduct and then mga acts. So what's there pa in 6713? So meron tayong tinatawag na prohibited acts and transactions under this law. So importante din siya. Number 1, we are prohibited from having financial and material interest. So directly or indirectly have any financial or material interest in any transaction requiring the approval of our office. So let me cite a very clear example here, yung recent case decided by the Supreme Court. A dean of a state university was found guilty by engaging the services of his own catering business to provide meals during one of the department's programs. So the ombudsman presented as evidence a copy of the disbursement voucher or DV amounting to 6,500 bearing the dean's signature. So it was a clear violation here because as the dean, siya naman ang approving and signing authority sa expenses, di ba? So it's clear that he had a financial interest kasi ang kinuha niyang catering service ay yung sa family-owned na catering service. And so the dean was ordered to pay a fine. So sabi ko sa SUC, pero it's not from the PUP. Okay, so number 2, outside employment and other activities related thereto. So bawal din kami na mga public servants during our incumbency to be owners, controllers, managers, or to accept employment as officer, employee, consultant, broker, agent in any private enterprise regulated, supervised, or licensed by our office unless expressly allowed by law. So what does this mean? So in the case of Office of the Ombudsman versus Santos, a 2006 case, here, sabi ng Supreme Court, by actively participating in the management of Golden Child Montessori, which is a private school, while serving as a principal of Lagro Elementary School, which is a government school, respondent transgressed the provisions of Section 7B, so ito yon, of RA 6713. So nag-double employment siya and bawal talaga siya. So as a consequence, the respondent was dismissed from the service. Okay, so clear yan. And then we are also prohibited from engaging in the private practice of our profession unless authorized by the Constitution or the law. So for example, ako, because I am a lawyer, can I practice my profession as a lawyer? So in the commission, we have an authority to engage in the private practice of profession. So we need to be authorized by the commission. So kailangan ko magpapirma ng authority for me to engage in a limited, kasi ang sa commission gusto nila limited practice lang. And there are conditions that the commission set for me to comply. Like bawal ako to use government funds, resources, or time when I practice my profession. And that when I appear in court, syempre bawal ako, dapat mag-leave ako, mag-file ako ng leave. And so bawal din, dapat din yung performance rating ko is okay. And annually, nire-review yung authority to engage in the private practice of profession. Okay, so, and then bawal din kami mag-recommend any person to any position in a private enterprise which has a regular or pending official transaction with our office. So, an actual case here, the petitioner, who was a deputy commissioner of the Bureau of Customs, recommended his brother-in-law for employment with a customs brokerage firm. So pag customs brokerage firm ka, syempre nire-regulate ka ng BOC. So sabi ng Supreme Court, itong brokerage firm necessarily deals on a regular basis with the petitioner's office, the BOC. So the petitioner was found guilty under this provision. So bawal yun, taga BOC. So for example, taga LTFRB ka din. So bawal kang maging mag-recommend ng someone na taga yung may bus company. Kasi yung bus company, re-regulate ng LTFRB. Okay, so now we go to disclosure or misuse of confidential information. So, syempre pag confidential information or classified, so hindi talaga dapat nating i-divulge. Diba? Especially to further our personal interest, to give undue advantage to anyone, or to prejudice the public service. Oh, ito very important to kasi ito bawal talaga kaming mag-solicit or mag-accept ng gift. But take note here na meron itong hindi naman siya na ay talagang bawal. Yung basta merong pending transaction o anything of monetary value from any person in the course of their official duties or in connection with any operation being regulated or by any transaction which may be affected by the functions of their office. Kasi dito na nga mag-breed ang bribery, graft, and corruption. So the CSE issued a memorandum circular in 2016. So prohibition on solicitation or acceptance of gifts. So sinasabi doon na hindi lang during the holiday season kasi may gift giving, pero all throughout the year bawal siya. Pero ito naman siya, yung gift kasi na sinasabi, so dapat hindi siya solicited kasi it shall not include, itong prohibition na to shall not include unsolicited gift of nominal or insignificant value. So take note ha, nominal or insignificant value not given in anticipation of or exchange of favor from a public official or employee. So what is insignificant to others may not be for some. Also, for example, kung ikaw director ka, so what may be nominal sa'yo may not be for someone holding a low position. Kaya, depending on the circumstances, when we resolve cases pertaining to this, so ano yung tinitingnan namin? So factors such as the position of the giver, then the amount of the gift, the frequency of giving, and the relationship of the giver to the recipient. Okay, so titingnan yan lahat when we evaluate the case. Hindi lang siya, ay, dahil bawal. Kasi kung ang nagbigay pala ay yung family members mo, pwede lang yun. On the occasion na birthday mo, and lalo na si family member, wala naman siyang pending transaction sa office mo. Okay? And then, for example, merong magbigay ng a piece of cake. So, isang slice lang. But inside the cake is a diamond ring. So, definitely, hindi siya nominal value, ang diamond ring. So, yun, bawal siya. Especially kung yung taong nagbigay, dahil may pending transaction siya sa office and gusto niya ng favorable action. Okay, so number 5 is unlawful use of statement filed under 6713. So lahat ng mga sinasabi ko kanina, so bawal yun for any person to obtain or use any statement filed under the law for any purpose contrary to morals or public policy, for any commercial purpose other than by news and communications media for dissemination to the public. Okay, so number 6 is bawal din kami to have extravagant or to have ostentatious display of wealth. So anong sabi? A few years back, if you remember, if you remember yung meron news article, di ba? Some of our officials then who were members of the Philippine delegation, part sila ng Philippine delegation, they were criticized after they dined in a fancy restaurant in New York. And their bill amounted to $20,000 US. So that's equivalent to almost 1 million pesos here in the Philippines. So sabi ng mga critics, oy, parang sobrang na-violate ang 6713 kasi an extravagant display of wealth or ostentatious display ng mga officials natin sa ibang bansa pa. At na-pick up pa yun ng newspaper ng US. So sabi dito, so talaga siyang bawal because the country is facing hunger and poverty and yet may mga officials na dine in a fancy restaurant. So yan, bawal sa amin to do that. And number 7, so very basic, bawal din to have ill and bad manners. So we shall not display ill or bad manners. So employees in the government service are bound by the rules of proper and ethical behavior. So we are expected to act with self-restraint and civility at all times, even when we are confronted with rudeness and insolence. So, time to recap ng mga prohibited acts and transactions. So there are 7 na bawal. So first, bawal ang financial and material interest, outside employment and other activities related thereto, disclosure or misuse of confidential information, solicitation or acceptance of gifts, unlawful use of statements filed under RA 6713, extravagant or ostentatious display of wealth, and ill or bad manners. So, what are the other important provision under 6713? So you might have heard of the Statement of Assets, Liabilities, and Net Worth, or what we call SALN. two of our highest officials in the judiciary, the two Supreme Court justices, were removed from the service for non-declaration or misdeclaration or non-filing of their SALN. So that's how important this public document is to us. So here, 6713, ito yung basis for requiring all public officials and employees to submit SALN. Kasi ito, we have to file under oath our SALN, and in our SALN, we have to disclose our business interests and financial connections, including those of our spouses and unmarried children under 18 years of age living in our households. And we shall declare also our relatives within the fourth civil degree of consanguinity or affinity, including our bilas, inso, and balae. So it is very important then to know who are your relatives within the fourth civil degree of consanguinity. So sige, let's talk about degree of relationship. So your first degree relative by consanguinity, so meaning by blood relationship, is your father, your mother, your son, or your daughter. And by affinity is your father-in-law, your mother-in-law, or your daughter or son-in-law. So you have to declare them kasi first degree. Okay, so who are your relatives within the second degree of relationship? So your brother and sister and your grandmother or your grandfather. So siblings and grandparents. So by consanguinity, by affinity, so your brother or sister-in-law and your grandparents-in-law. So you have to declare them. So who are your relatives within the third civil degree? Okay, so by consanguinity, your nephews and nieces and your uncles and aunts. And by affinity, your nephews and nieces-in-law and your uncles and aunts-in-law. And who are your relatives within the fourth civil degree, the degree that you have to disclose? It's your first cousins. Okay, so up to those degrees, you have to put them in your SALN, including their position in government. Okay? And so next, so penalties. So kanina pa ako nag-mention about duties and responsibilities, mga norms of conduct, and prohibited acts and transactions. So what will happen if I will not comply? So it provides for penalties. So violation of the code shall be punishable by fine not exceeding the equivalent of 6 months salary or suspension not exceeding 1 year. Or you can be removed or dismissed from the service, as I mentioned in those cases, di ba? Depending on the gravity or depravity of the offense, and of course, observing due process. So after due notice and hearing by the appropriate body or agency. Okay, so meron ng penalties. So ito ding law, RA 6713, provides for a system of rewards and incentives. So annually, the Civil Service Commission has an honor awards program or HAP. And then we have one category there, the Dangal ng Bayan Award. So the Dangal ng Bayan is awarded to all officials and employees who have demonstrated exemplary service and behavior on the basis of their observance of one or more of the 8 norms of conduct. So itong Dangal ng Bayan is a prestigious award to be awarded no less than by the President of the Philippines in Malacanang and during the Philippine Civil Service Anniversary, which is in September. So, ang basis niyan is the 6713 kasi nakalagay siya na dapat mag-provide din tayo ng rewards and incentive. So, I'm now in my last slide. And the best way to end my presentation is to cite our awardee on the lingkod, Dangal ng Bayan Award. So Dangal ng Bayan, awardee natin, hero ang public servant. Our 2018 Honor Awards Program awardee for Dangal ng Bayan is Mr. Helson A. Riley, a laborer 1 or street sweeper of the city government of Marikina. So anyone from the city government of Marikina? So this is Marikina Pride. So what were his notable achievements, or how did he exemplify Republic Act 6713 to be awarded by President Duterte? Okay, so these are his specific acts. He was awarded for diligently performing his task despite dangers and risk post by his job as street sweeper or laborer. His inspiring story includes that of using a makeshift boat made of plastic in transporting residents to safety when the floodwaters rose into Mana Marikina. So take note that the street sweeper or laborer one position under the Personal Services Itemization and Plantilla of Personnel, or what we call the PSI-POP, occupies the lowest salary grade, which is salary grade 1. But it does not matter to Mr. Lily, the awardee. So it only means even one occupying a low position in government can be a role model and an exemplar of ethical standards. So we have a lot of government officials, high-ranking officials, they have higher salary grades, but sad to say that they are not complying with the norms of conduct enunciated in RA 6713. In fact, they are violating some of the norms and they are openly committing the prohibited acts and transactions. So it's a thing to ponder for all of us. Someone like Mr. Riley is worthy to emulate because he is a true lingkod bayani. And so with that ends my presentation, and thank you so much for your kind attention. So the floor is now
Okay, thank you
open
so much.
for the for any clarifications or questions. So thank you, Sir Dave. We can have the open
Thank
forum
you so
po.
much po.
So
Okay, we are
we can,
inviting our students, our employees to raise questions that they may have. Ma'am, meron
yes,
pong
Mr.
question si Mr. Marvin
Marvin,
Andal.
yes. Okay, so go ahead, Mr. Marvin. I'll just stop share. Okay.
Hello, ma'am.
Hello, good morning.
Ma'am, ano pong difference ng simple and complex transaction? At ano pong mga examples po nito?
Okay, sige, I'll cite a simple transaction because in HR, we have what is classified as a simple transaction. So in HR, our reply to job applications, so because we receive so many applications when we post vacancies, so it is classified by the office as a simple transaction. So meaning within 3 working days, we need to reply to the job applicant, whether or not he or she meets the qualification requirements, or whether or not he or she will proceed to the next phase of the assessment. Okay. And for a complex transaction, which I mentioned a while ago, is requiring evaluation. So an example is attestation of appointments in our field offices. So they have to ensure na, because there are requirements from the other agencies to submit. So it would require more than 3 working days to act. So 7 working days ang attestation nila. Na tataka nila yung mga appointments coming from the agencies to the and to be submitted to our old field office para sabihin namin whether approve or disapprove ang appointment. So, important thing to consider is pag simple transaction, ministerial lang siya. So wala ka nang masyadong pag-iisipan, parang checklist lang, yes or no. Pero pag complex na siya, kailangan mo na i-evaluate, and pag mag-evaluate ka, there are documents usually that you are requiring. So ibabangga mo siya. Okay, so 3, 7, and 20 days.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you po.
Okay, so thank you. So I think we also have another
Ma'am, magpapalap question lang.
Yes, sino siya? Si Jerry ba to?
Opo, ma'am.
Yes,
Follow-up
go ahead please.
Follow-up question ko lang po dun sa tanong ni Marvin. Yung,
Okay.
is there any consequences to the public official who are not meet the any transaction of the clients?
Yes, under the EODB. So EODB is another law na the CSC is also lecturing to all other government agencies. So ang EODB, meron silang tinatawag na 2 strike policy. So first commission mo, suspension ka muna from the service for 6 months. However, for your next commission, second offense mo, dismissal from the service na siya. So yan yung specific penalties under the Ease of Doing Business and Efficient Government Service Delivery Act. So the CSC was part of this IRR. So kami yung nag-craft ng IRR. So ako personally, when I was in OLA, I was also part of the technical working group which drafted the IRR of the ease of doing business. So remember the 2 strike policy ha. So first pa lang na commission, suspension for 6 months. Pero pag second mo na commit, dismissal from the service.
Thank you po, ma'am.
Okay.
Hello po ma'am, good morning po.
Hello, good morning.
Ito po yung questions ko. Regarding po sa no noon time
Noon
break,
break. Yes.
kung naisa lang yung stop.
Oh, nako, talagang mandated ang head to ensure na mawawalang tao. So, ang ARTA, Anti-Red Tape Authority na tayo ngayon yung task to implement the law, umiikot yan sila and they're conducting yung surprise inspection. So pag nakita nila na noon time and walang tao, so mape-penalize yung head of office kasi he is tasked to ensure na merong tatao dyan sa cubicle or sa mga pwesto sa government. So sa sinasabi ko, rotation talaga. So rotation. So hindi pwede, lalo na kung frontline service yan, hindi pwedeng mawalan siya ng tao. Kasi malinaw po sa batas. That's why yung EODB, ang EODB natin ay nag-task talaga sa agencies to re-engineer and to streamline the processes. Kung kailangan mag-contract of service or mag-hire ng job order, magre-request to ensure na may additional human resource. So yan yung mga mechanisms na in-employ ng mga agencies when we had our public consultation. So yun yung niraise ng mga agencies. Paano naman kami? Wala kaming tao. So sabi namin, the DBM is well aware of the lack of human resource in other agencies and well aware din ang DBM on the EODB requirements. So yun na yun, the agency has to request to the DBM for additional positions or even to request for the hiring of personnel under contract of service or job order.
Thank you po ma'am.
Si Jubilin ba to nagre-raise hand? Sige, go ahead please. Parang nagre-raise hand siya.
Go ahead, Jubilee. Jubilee, wala kang audio. Wala kang audio. Meron ka bang headset? Ma'am, hindi po marinig.
Or you can, okay lang ba i-chat mo? You can chat siguro your question or clarification. So we can still entertain questions because we are well within our time. 10:23 pa siya. So a few questions pa we can entertain.
Ma'am, good morning po.
Yes, good morning. Sige.
Tanong ko lang po yung what are the ethical issues that government offices always face? Ano po yung mga ethical issues na lagi pong kinakaharap ng mga government offices?
Sige, since I was in OLA, Office for Legal Affairs, for 15 years, so most of the cases filed there are yung talaga, grave misconduct, neglect of duty. So yung nawawala sila sa pwesto, naglulufing. Okay? And even yung lang din, mga simpleng away, nakakarating din yan sa komisyon. So maraming offenses kasi na ini-enumerate ang ating revised rules on administrative cases in the civil service. So nandun din yung conduct prejudicial to the best interest of the service. So for example, you do some acts which tainted the image of your organization. So that is punishable, and that is considered as conduct prejudicial to the best interest of the service. Ayan, so ito, for example, stealing, kasi is stealing always wrong? Bakit? May qualifications ba for it not to be considered as morally right? Kasi stealing is taking one's property. So nasa revised penal code nga yan yung theft. Yung theft is always bawal kasi you are taking another person's property without the consent of that owner. And in fact, qualified theft pa yan pag meron kayong trust and confidence. O like for example, yung kasambahay mo. So qualified theft siya kasi ano siya may trust and confidence ka sa kanya. Okay, so yes, it is wrong. Unless you can provide me specific examples to become an exception doon sa stealing. Basta taking one's property without the consent of the owner is always wrong. Si Marjorie. Sige, Marjorie. Hi, Marge.
Hello po, ma'am.
Hi.
Ano po ba ang ruling sa pag-hire ng employees? Posible po ba mag-asawa or mag-ama na hire sa isang government office?
Ang ganda ng tanong, no? Nepotism. So yung nepotism, nepotism, bawal siya pag ang mag-appoint ay relative. Basta tingnan mo yung appointing authority. Kasi ang tinitingnan niya yung relationship niya doon sa i-appoint niya. So yung appointing or ang recommending authority should not be related doon sa i-appoint niya up to 3rd degree of consanguinity. O kanina na-mention ko na yung degrees of relationship. So bawal siya kung siya dito sa amin ang setup, ang aming appointing authority ay ang komisyon. So tatlo yan sila kasi collegial body. So kung isa sa kanila nga and i-appoint nila ay kanilang asawa. So yun, 1st degree yun. So bawal siya. So you have to look at who will be the appointing authority. Sa PUP, board yata kayo, no? PUP board ang appointing authority nyo. So titignan dyan yung relationship ng board doon sa mga i-appoint. Hindi siya automatic na bawal. Kunyari, bakit sila mag-asawa? Pareho silang nasa HR, silang dalawang mag-asawa. Kasi ang appointing authority namin, as I mentioned, for example, si Chair Bala, yung dalawang commissioner, hindi naman sila related dito sa dalawa. So, pwede lang sila. So, ang importante, tingnan yung relationship ng appointing authority with that of the appointee.
Any more questions?
So do we can entertain pa last question before the next session on JEDC? Oh, so aside from the students, from the faculty, hinahanap ko yung faculty. From the faculty who are public servants, mga kapwa lingkod bayani namin, yung mga professors niyo.
Mukhang,
Okay, so
ma'am, yung
yes.
nabanggit niyo po yung civil service examinations. Kanina. Ma'am, may ano po kung sino-sino po, meron po bang mga exempted na to take civil service exam para ma-employ sa government agency? Halimbawa mga gumraduate ng cum laude or pumasa sa board, are they exempted to take the...
Yes, exempted po sila, honor eligibility sila. Yung mga cum laude, meron po tayong specific issuance niyan. So they need not take the CS exam. Pupunta lang sila sa concerned regional office para magpa-issue ng eligibility. Si Director Ping was in our examination office before. So examination, recruitment, and placement office. So sila yung nag-i-issue ng mga ganyan, honor eligibility. Tsaka yung SK, ano yun? Yung sangguniang bayan.
Sangguniang member.
Yes, sangguniang
member eligibility. So, yung mga kagawad sa munisipyo, sa city and provinces, nag-serve ng, well, if I'm not mistaken, matagal na batas ito, 9 years. Kasi 3 consecutive terms. Kasama yung sino pa ba?
Yung mga board passers, sir. Halimbawa pumasa sa
board. Yes, board passers.
O si Sally na yan, gamay na gamay na. Mga
Yes,
teachers,
yung
lahat.
board or
Social
bar
work,
passers.
they're exempted. Pwedeng hindi na sila kumuha na exam. Kasi equivalent na yung yung licensure exam, for example, sa civil service eligibility.
Okay, thank you so much, sir and ma'am.
So I think wala na sigurong questions. So we are good, Dave. So thank you so much for your kind participation, and for inquiries or gusto niyo pa ng additional questions, you can just email our office, the Office for Human Resource Management and Development. Our email address is provided in our website, www.csc.gov.ph. So maraming salamat po sa inyo, and the next session will be handled by Director Ping. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much for the insightful exchange of ideas regarding ethical standards for future public officials and administrative professionals. Maraming salamat po, ma'am, sa inyong napakagandang explanation and sharing. At this time, we are going to proceed to our second speaker to tackle about gender sensitivity and equity in the workplace. Let's now welcome Mr. Fernando M. Porio, Director 4 for Office for Human Resource Management and Development. Sir.
Hello, can you hear me? Yes, my presentation is actually more focused on gender sensitivity, a bit of equity, but in the end I will give examples about both. This is originally, ignore the seminar there, because my lecture is originally an 8-hour lecture, pero I had to slice it into 1.5 hours. So if you see me like medyo nagmamadali, ganun talaga. Grace, can you put on the first slide already?
Naka-flash na po yan, sir.
Ako na ba to?
Yes, sir.
Sige. Wala. Kailan bang wala. Nagkiklik na ako. Okay. Ignore the word seminar. Okay. Oh, this is my opening salvo. Gender issues permeate our lives. Lahat tayo may mga gender issues. Whatever is the face of that gender issue or problem that we encounter every day, sa atin yon. Hopefully, before I end my session, yung mga gender issues na to will be clarified at ma-define natin. But for now, as it is with you, especially the students, gender issues tumatagos sa buhay natin. Actually, 24/7. Kahit natutulog ka, may gender issue. Paggising mo, may gender issue. Kahit sino ka, kahit ikaw ay mayaman o mahirap, whether you are smart, intelligent, or less smart or less intelligent. I was looking at your profile kanina, especially the students. Whether you are fat or healthy or thin, gender issue, meron tayo niyan. Whether you are sporting long hair, pakimute muna yung iba. Whether you're sporting long hair or short hair, or kung ikaw ay kalbo o may buhok, pwede rin. Whether you love branded items or ukay-ukay, whether you live in the mountains at malamig doon or in the lowlands, whether you live near the sea or dito lang sa mainit, or nasa ibang bansa or dito, whether you are the most intelligent, as I said, or the less, whether you are the most powerful person in this in the country or in the campus, or those with no power at all, may gender issue yan. Lahat ng yan. Ano pa? Whether you love to wear jeans like myself, Friday ngayon, so you see me, tinago ko lang, naka-t-shirt ako, nag-jacket lang ako. Or mahilig ka sa formal wear, mahilig ka sa balat or rubber shoes o chinelas, whether nag-jeep ka, nagte-tricycle, or may kotse, or may driver, whatever is the type of work you do, may gender issue. As I said, 24/7. So uh, every day meron yan. Every week meron yan. Every every month, every year, year in, year out, my gender issue until actually we die, whether you're a man or a woman. Siguro a good representation of this gender issue, which I usually use during my lecture, is the clock or the watch. The watch. Last time I watch, or many of us, may gamit na watch. Uh, Una-una, at the stroke of midnight, whose story is this? No rules tayo, pwede sumagot, pero mahirap pag ganito, naka-zoom, kasi hindi ko maririnig yung mga reply. At the stroke of midnight, this is the story actually of Cinderella. Tama? This is a classic story told and retold to us for so many generations. Yung mga ninuno natin, kwento ito sa kanila. At kwento na rin nila sa atin, at sa TV at sa movies, ang dami ng versions may kita natin about Cinderella. But what is the relevance of this to our topic, gender issue? Kasi ang bida doon sa Cinderella ay isang babae, at hindi lang siya ordinaryong babae, napakaganda niya. Actually, she is a princess. At ito turo sa akin ng misis ko, kasi ang misis ko, before I met her, she used to work with the then PCW. So women's yung kanyang one, and she was studying also at that time, taking her masters. At tinuro sa akin yung Cinderella syndrome. Then sabi niya, you can use it in your lecture, sabi niya. So ini-integrate ko ngayon niya. So prinsesa, so lahat ng babae or maraming babae, they wanna be a princess, tama? So to do that, they look at the princess in its totality, and hanggang mula ulo hanggang paa, sa ulo, usually apart from having a crown, if you look at the hair, it's a long hair, tama? So ang dami dito mga girls. I was looking at the screen, and I see a lot of women, especially the students, sporting long hair. Ano pa ang mga characteristic na isang prinsesa? Fair skin, maputi. So sa Pilipino lalo na, ang dami nag-aspire maging maputi. Kahit na tayo fair skin, unless may halo yung lahi mo na Chinese. Ako may lahing Chinese yung lola ko. So medyo maputi ako. So but for the women, yun yung gusto nila, long hair, ano pa? Perfect vital statistics. Parang mga yung nakikita natin mga artista. Ito yung gusto natin. So 36, 26, tamang-tama lang yung, sorry, I have to use it. Kasi permitted yung boobs niya, proportionate. Hindi masyadong malaki, hindi masyadong maliit. Yun yung description na isang prinsesa. If you look at all the princesses, yung kanya mga damit, lahat magaganda. Tama? Kasi prinsesa. Tapos very prim and proper kung umusta. Yun. And many more. Ano pa? Hanggang sa, sabi ko kanina, head to toe. So yung kilay, anong tawag doon? Inayos yung kilay. Hanggang sa lips, sa cheek, high cheekbone. If you look at, ito yung ang modern day princesses natin, yung nakikita natin sa TV. Yung mga bida sa pelikula, sa teleserye, and even the programs in the movies. If you look at them, they are in more ways than one, parang a significant representation of what a princess is. Tama. So yun yung pagtingin natin sa babae. Stroke of midnight pa lang ito. But there are other women in the cast doon sa movie, if it's a movie. Sino yung mga kasamang women sa story ni Cinderella? Di ba may dalawang klase pa? Actually, tatlo pa, di ba? Unang-una rito yung stepmother. How do we describe the stepmother? Ah, how do we describe the stepmother? I think the evil stepmother. So if you can get a basic yung characteristic of the stepmother, ito yung pinaka pangit na characteristic. So lahat ng mga kontrabida, even in our case sa Philippine movies and television, kasi tingin ko for the most part galing yan sa istorya ni Cinderella. So ang portrayal ng ng babae in general, lalo-lalo na yung stepmother, evil. Di ba? Evil. So yung pagtingin, unconsciously sa subconscious natin, ang pagtingin natin sa ibang babae, because this is a classic story na sinabi ko na nasa atin, told and retold. So nasa sistema na natin, hindi maganda. And the two stepsisters, ganoon din. Di ba? Yung stepsisters. So lahat ng mga, kung titignan mo sa TV at sa movies, ganito rin yung portrayal ng mga babae. So, meron kang Cinderella na prinsesa, meron kang stepmother na evil. Ano yung description sa dalawang stepsisters? O, di ba, inggitera, sinisiraan si Cinderella. Any chance that they can destroy her personality. So they are the opposite of her in terms of character. Kasi si Cinderella, very kind, even to animals. Pero yung stepsisters niya, the opposite. So in a way, this is how we project women. And that is the Cinderella syndrome. So be careful when you have your children, and if you're telling the Cinderella story to them, these are the implications that you're actually telling them, the persona of a woman in different forms, from being a princess to that of being an evil stepmother and stepsisters. So yun yung caveat ko. That is my warning to you. Okay, after midnight, let's jump to 1 to 4. 1 to 4. Kanino yung storya to? Marami bang may storya nito? Marami din. But we will not delve into it. 1 to 4 a.m. tayo. Kaninong storya? O maraming mga women, let me go straight, mga prostituted, nasa pag-alagala, and these are their stories. And they have different sorry stories. Then gawin natin 4 to 6. Kasi 4 to 6, kaninong storya to? 4 to 6. Nanay, di ba? Nanay, 4 to 6. In many cases, pero hindi na rin naman ito ang norm in a number of homes. In many cases still, whether you are in the urban area, but mostly in the rural areas, ang nanay, nagigising siya ng alas 4. Anong ginagawa ng nanay? O nagre-ready siya ng pagkain para sa pamilya. Breakfast, minsan isinasama na niya yung lunch saka dinner, but in most cases breakfast. So mahabang panahon yon. And at the same time, while cooking, marami pa siyang inaasikaso. Kung may mga kailangan pang hugasan, kung may mga kailangan linisin sa bahay, nire-ready na rin niya yung mga labada. Remember? Siya yun. And many things more. During the day and up to evening. So 4 to 6. But mostly, nanay yun. So you are seeing your mother, and I've seen it in my mother and in my grandmother, sila yung gising. So hindi natatapos yung pagiging nanay. Even when you grow up, even when you leave the home and make a life on your own, pag may trabaho na kayo, ganun pa rin yung ginagawa ng nanay, di ba? Siya pa rin yun. Until magre-retire ba siya sa government, magre-retire ka at 65. Beyond 65. So yung lifetime niya is really devoted to it. And it's the same routine she does every day until she dies. Okay. So 4 to 6, 6 to 8. Pag nasa government ka, for example, 6 to 8, either pagkaluto mo, you prepare the meals for your family, for the kids, yung mga anak, and the husband. So yun yun. That is also devoted for you, like if you're working in government, as I said, for you to travel to the office. So gawin nating 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. So if you work in an office like us, yun yung ginagawa mo. You work 8 to 5 and even beyond it. But after 5, yung nanay, in the case of many of us in the CSC, pati naman yung tatay, but yung mga nanay lalo, after 5 p.m., nagmamadali na yan para makauwi. So, anong gagawin? 6 to 8, 6 to 8 p.m. Ito yung mga office workers, my day job. What do they do? Sila pa rin, pagdating sa bahay, titignan yung anong pwedeng maluto o kung may mga kailangang ayusin sa bahay. So basically housework. Sila yon. They do that. I'm not saying this is the norm. In many cases, this still is what is happening. Okay? Kasi ang dami mga variations na doon sa buhay ng isang babae, even in the household. But this is still what we see for the most part, or in many cases. So, siya pa rin, nagluluto, nire-ready lahat. I think kung may time siya even before cooking or after cooking, pakakainin yung mga bata, siya pa rin yung in charge ng assignment. Parang naka-attribute sa nanay, assignment ng mga bata, chine-check yung mga bata kung may mga assignments. Siya pa rin yun, okay, hanggang mag-alas 10 o alas 10 or even 9 or 10, hindi pa yan natutulog. Ang asikasuhin naman, si husband, di ba? O si husband, para sa time nila mag-asawa yan, hanggang matutulog na siya. At gigising ulit siya ng alas 4. As I said, every day. Okay? So, ito yun. Ito yung nangyayari sa kanya. So, kaya ang gender issue, tumatagos yan. Whether kahit nasa tricycle ka, may gender issue ba nun? Sumasakay ka sa bus o sa jeep, may gender issue? Yes. O bumibili ka sa palengke, nasa bahay ka lang at nanonood ng TV, or ikaw yung nagtatrabaho, or whatever, housework or groundwork sa labas, ikaw ang naglalap, etc. Okay? So the gender issues permeate our lives. Next, Grace, hindi ko makuhan, I cannot proceed to the next. Okay. Ito naman, ito lang ay guide for all of us. When we talk about gender, kasi ang gender transcends. Whatever is our discussion, even if seemingly if it's not about gender, may gender component yan. Ito lang naman is for us to be guided, and this is the reference for you and me. I always remind myself that this is how it is. So itong lecture, mini lecture na ito, it is not an indictment. When we talk about gender, nobody is on the witness stand. Nobody, boys and girls, men and women, nobody is guilty of anything. Tatandaan nyo yun, walang kinakasuhan dito. Ha? But when you discuss gender, it is actually an opportunity for all of us to reflect. Kasi iba-iba yung pinanggagalingan natin. Iba-iba yung istorya natin. Lahat tayo may istorya, believe me. Whether we like it or not. Iba-iba yung storya. Meron tayong istorya. So this is like a time for us to make, balikan mo pa yon, to make a reflection. Okay, not a classroom. Walang magaling sa gender, I tell you. Walang mas magaling. Lahat tayo pantay-pantay. Okay, pantay-pantay. And usually in this lecture, if you notice, we are not being academic even here. We will use our experience. I'm using my own experience when I do my sharing. But consider this when you talk among yourselves, pag wala na kayo rito, when you talk to anyone, your friends, your family, boyfriend, girlfriend, consider it as a venue for sharing and for you to have a common and deeper understanding of the gender issues. Kasi every day we face it. Okay, and what I'm doing is not imposing on you a framework. This is like a way of thinking. You will see it later on that there is actually a framework that we've used for this. But we are not saying ito yung gamitin nyo, ito yung maganda. It is really up to you. Gamitin nyo lang ito as a reference, as I said, for you to learn something. I will not expect you to learn to know everything. Kasi I will be si Director Sally and may mga concepts siyang in-introduce it. For this, very quickly, in a short span, I will be introducing, I think, close to 8, if I'm not mistaken. 8 concepts. Kung may matirang isa na maalala nyo, I will be happy. Kahit isa lang. That to me is an accomplishment. Okay, next. May baba. So, yes. Okay. Dagdag. Kasi I'm a bit emphatic. So these are premises. When you're thinking, when you're discussing it, with anyone, especially yung loved ones mo. Pati sa classroom especially. Hindi to gera ng babae versus lalaki. Hindi natin pinag-aaway-away pareho. Tatandaan nyo yun. When we discuss gender, walang mag-aaway dapat dito. Okay? This is not also anti-male. Okay. When we go through a discussion of this, we are not hitting the male, and we are not putting a limit to the manhood also of the male. Hindi to nakakalalaki. We are not actually. This is not an attack on the capacity of the man. We are not attacking his dignity. We are not attacking his integrity. Pinag-uusapan natin being pagiging tao. Babae ka o lalaki ka. So, maliwanag ito as we proceed. Pangatlo, both women and men are victims. Totoo yan. Pero, makikita natin dun sa listanong prostituted women versus men, mas madami talaga yung cases ng babae. Mas marami yung mga babaeng trafficked against their will, and in all the cases of rape, mas madami sa babae. Okay? So, yun. But both are victims. Tandaan natin yan. Pang-apat, and this is very important, especially pag you are coming out with an agreement, if you're coming out with a policy internally, even policy sa bahay, sino magluluto, sino ang maglilinis, these are things. These are realities in your home, especially if you get married. Kasi mga bata pa kayo eh. But if you eventually get married, these are the things that you talk about very clearly, pointedly, if you ask me. Sinasabi, both have a stake in the struggle for gender equality, especially in the home and in the office. Bayaan mo na yung country muna. Ayusin mo muna yung nasa bahay mo. Ano ibig sabihin nito? Hindi pwedeng pag pinag-usapan ng gender, babae lang, kayo lang, o babae lang, advancement of women. Kasama dyan yung kalalakihan. At yung mga guys themselves, they cannot just talk among themselves about promoting gender equality and equity. Sila lang. Hindi. Ang keyword dito sa bullet na to is both. Magkasama yan. Dapat magkasama palagi. Pag may in-introduce na policy, rules, program sa office, kasi required tayo ng PCW to come out with programs. Magkasama yan. In our case, we do that. And we have a lot of consultation on it. Next, Okay. Ito. Sige, next. Okay na. Minotify ko yung ito para madali lang. Mamayanin tanong. I want to entertain Shana, but since we are pressed for time, uh, uh, we have a game before I move to my next important topic. We call this pitik palak, but I cannot do this now because we are pressed for time. May tanong dalawa o tatlong tanong lang ako. Yung unang tanong ko sa inyo, and I want you to write in your chat. Pwede rin magsabi, unmute yourself. But I will use the chat para makita natin yung words. Kung ano yung sagot ninyo. And I would like you to engage yourself kasi supposedly yung itong presentation na to is really very participative on the part of you, the participants. So my first question, which is not part of it, pangkwan lang, pambungad lang, is what is the first thing that comes to mind when you hear the word food? Pakisulat nyo nga sa chat at titignan ko. When you hear the word food, what comes to mind? Pizza, yes. Thank you, Dave. O, si Dave na to, ha. What else? What comes to mind? Kasi dapat hindi manggaling sa akin, eh. Fried chicken, wow. Masarap, very good. Lomi, oh, paborito natin yung lomi dyan sa lugar ninyo. I love it there. Tinola, wow. Oh, what else? Fries. Wala bang vegetarian sa inyo? Adobo, pares. Yeah, I love them. Burger, okay. O sisig, I'm allowing two more siomai. Two more? Two more? Anything? Wala na. Mukhang, kasi tingin ko dahil payat kayo, hindi nyo ata iniisip yung pagkain. Ako, mahilig tayo sa pagkain, donut. O Shanghai, okay. Milk tea. Okay, stop. Okay, ito na, totoo na tayo. This is the activity, adobong kangkong. Thank you very much there. I would like you to be more participative this time. And you're not being judged, remember? Doon sa premises natin, wala itong kinalaman sa pagkatao ninyo. So we are not putting you on the witness stand. Okay? And we are not judging you. Okay, the question now is, what is the first thing that comes to mind when you hear the word man? Lalaki. What is the first thing that comes to mind? Okay? Okay, father, yes. Babalikan natin itong mga examples nyo, ha? I-scroll up or down natin, Grace, mamaya. Brave, very good. Strong, matipuno, very good. Masculine, haligi ng tahanan, very good. I like your answers. Genty, yeah, strong. Wag magulit, marespeto, yeah, responsible. Okay, what else? I need three more. Breadwinner. Remember your responses, ha? This came from you, loving. One more, kahit one more na lang kasi we are pressed for time. Okay, caring. Yes, stop there. But you can continue. Okay, the third question is, what is the first thing that comes to mind? Protective sa lalaki pa yan, ha? Tatandaan natin yan. What is the first thing that comes to mind when you hear the word woman? Put in the chat. Woman. Okay. Beautiful, masipag, feminine, emotional, mapagmahal, ilaw ng tahanan, caring mother, brave, sincere, sensitive, kagalang-galang, maalaga, pretty, yes. Understanding, patient, masipag. More, I want more. Hey, you are not being graded here, so you give me more. Protective, responsible. Very good. Very good. Grace, pwede bang itaas mo? Itaas mo siya from the first example. From the first example. Yung taas. Ano yung una natin? Dun sa man. Man. Maganda sana to pag yung face-to-face tayo. But we go back to your example. These examples came from you, ladies and gentlemen. Isa-isay natin. more. Patient ba yung una? No. Higher, upper. No, no. Dito sa chat, I'm referring to the chat. I'm referring to the chat. Yung kanilang responses. The first one, can you bring us back there? I assure you this is very important. Masipag labing.
Basahin ko na lang po ba?
No, no, no. I wanna do it.
Okay.
Yung sa chat, yung unang sagot nila when I asked what is the first thing that comes to
Father.
mind when you hear the word father ba?
Father.
Man. Okay. Parang hindi. Para upper, higher.
Father po from Miss Mary.
Father,
Alfagua.
okay. Sige. Father ba? Parang hindi ko nakita rito. Father.
After po siya ng adobong kangkong.
Okay. Yun na nasa screen ko is protective. That is the first word. That refers to the father, right? But what is the first word?
Brave, strong.
Brave, okay. Brave, strong. Okay. Anong una? Brave na lang. Sige, brave.
Brave.
Okay. Brave. Then we go down, hintayin mo ako, Grace, brave. Okay. Papalitan natin yung nilagay natin kanina na the first thing that comes to mind when you hear the word man. Palitan natin yung man ng woman. And I will ask you, as I said, this is highly engaging and participative. So you have to answer me. Ang sagot lang naman pwede or hindi pwede. Okay. The first word attributed to the man, which is now a woman, is ano yun? Brave. Ang babae ba brave? Pwede? Yes or no? Yes?
Yes.
Yes. Ang ano pa ang babae? No, Grace, doon ka muna sa taas. Some man. Man muna, man. Isa-isahin ko 'yon. Ang babae ba? Look at the chat, Grace, at doon muna sa man, yung responses nila sa man.
Sir, I'm looking at it na po.
Okay, siguro. Ang babae ba ay, ano nakalagay? Sa taas pa. Sorry, wala akong notes. Ang babae ba responsible? Yes or no? Yes. Ang babae ba, ito mahirap sa Zoom, ano?
Gentle.
I'm not concerned about their yes reply. I'm concerned about their answers. Grace, yung sagot nila doon sa kwan. Wag na kayong sumagot sa chat ng yes, no? Okay? Para hindi mahirapan si Grace. Sa kwan na lang, unmute nyo na lang, then some of you can reply. What were the other words? I did not take note kasi. Brave, responsible, ano pa?
Breadwinner.
Breadwinner. Ang babae ba breadwinner? Yes, no?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Ano pa yung sinabi niyo
Faithful.
kanina? Ang babae ba ay
Faithful.
Ha? Faithful?
Faithful.
O faithful? Ang babae ba faithful? Yes, no?
Yes po.
Yes. O ano pa yung nandun kanina?
Protective.
Yung sagot sa lalaki ito, ang babae ba protective? Yes, no? Yes. Yes. O ano pa? Ang babae ba? What else? Ano may
Meron
sagot
dito
mo kanina?
masculine. May nakalagay dito masculine.
O ang babae ba masculine? Pwede? Pwede?
Pwede pala.
Pwede, yes. Kahit babae, masculine. O ano pa yung ibang sagot? Can you help me? Ibang sagot nyo kanina. Yung mga sumagot sa lalaki kanina, baka maalala nyo yung sagot ninyo.
Haligin ng tahanan po.
Haligin ng tahanan. Ang babae ba haligin ng tahanan?
Pwede po.
Pwede. Or pwede. Yes, di ba? Yes. O isang sagot na lang. Ano pa yung isa? Before we
Matipuno po.
Matipuno. O ang babae ba matipuno? Sige, ako na pala rito. Mapagmahal, feminine, caring. Ito na pala. Sorry, ako pala dapat ang gagalaw nito. Okay. Ang babae ba gentle? Yes. Ang babae ba strong?
Yes.
Yes. Ang babae ba marespeto?
Yes.
Ang babae ba responsible? Breadwinner, loving,
Yes
faithful,
po.
Yes po.
caring,
Yes
protective.
po.
Okay.
Yes po.
Wala na ulit. Yes, okay. Baliktarin natin yung sagot ninyo sa babae naman kanina. Saan tayo where did we end up?
We
Where did
start
we
po
end?
sa feminine.
Sa feminine, okay. Palitan natin yun naman ng from woman, gawin nating man. Ang lalaki ba ay feminine? Pwede?
Pwede po.
Pwede,
Sir, pwede
pwede.
po.
Yes,
Pwede po,
pwede.
sir. Pwede po.
Yes, okay. Ano yung mga sumunod, Grace? Malala mo?
Emotional.
Ang lalaki ba emotional?
Yes po.
Yes, no?
Yes po, sir.
Okay, ang lalaki ba kuan pasensyoso?
Yes.
Opo.
Pasensyoso.
Yes.
Ang lalaki
Yes po, sir.
Yes po.
Ang lalaki ba multitasker?
Yes.
Yes po.
Okay, ang
Yes
lalaki
na
ba
yes po.
Ang lalaki ba sweet?
Yes.
Yes.
Opo.
Yes
Ang
po.
lalaki ba kuan superwoman or superman?
Pwede rin.
Pwede,
Yes po.
pwede. Ang lalaki ba generous?
Yes.
Opo.
Selfless
Yes po.
din ba ang lalaki?
Yes.
Creative?
Opo.
O
Yes.
nagsasacrifice? Madiskarte?
Yes.
Woman, sabi niya. Okay.
Yes.
Mas
Yes
madiskarte.
po.
Okay. Loving? We end there. Yes?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Grace,
Yes.
ibalik mo dun sa slides. So, anong pinagkaiba? O lahat ng mga sinabi nyo rito, sa inyo galing to, ha? Sa inyo galing to. Sinasabi na, yung sinabi nyo, characteristic ng lalaki kanina, at binaliktad natin, pwede sa babae, and vice versa, yung characteristics ng mga babae, pinalitan natin ng panlalaki, pwede naman pala. Ano ibig sabihin nun? Ha? Saan lang sila nagkaiba? If you look at yourselves now, looking at the screen, kahit kasi nasa screen tayo eh. O anong pinagkaiba? Ha? Tell me, anong pinagkaiba? In terms of the characteristics. O yung mga attributes. Kasi galing sa atin, we represent the society. Anong pinagkaiba rito? Ha? Ito yung discussion. This is the jump off point to our discussion on sex and gender. Ang pinagkaiba, can you put in the sex part? Okay. Next. Okay. Ito yung pinagkaiba. Yung reproductive system. Magkaiba ang babae at lalaki, yes? Tama ba ako? Yeah, if you're talking about gender sensitivity, we cannot help but discuss about sex. Mauna muna yung sex kasi ito yung madali. Maliwanag na physical differences ng babae at lalaki. Ano yung mga physiological and physical differences? Na alam na natin kasi third year and graduating na tayo. Certain physiological attributes are mainly manifested or expressed by male and female in terms of the reproductive system. Ano yung meron sa babae at ano yung meron sa lalaki? Ito yung differences. Ang babae may vagina. Okay? Tama? Yung lalaki naman may testes. Babae may ovaries, as we all know. Ang lalaki may balls. Kung ang babae may egg cells, yung lalaki may sperm cells. Maliwanag these are differences. Kasi kanina yung attributes, pareho lang yung attribute what you said as both applying to male and female. But this one, ito yung differences nila. External reproductive organs. Ano pa? Fallopian tube. Meron ba ang lalaki noon? Wala. Hindi kami nanganganak. Babae lang yon. Testosterone. Hormones. And chromosomes. Anong meron sa lalaki na iba sa babae? XX, remember XX
X,
sa babae,
X,
XY sa lalaki. O, ang babae may menstruation, lalaki, meron kaming ejaculation, may wet dreams, etc. Doon pero balik tayo sa chromosomes kasi dito makikita natin yung strength, usapin o debate sa sinong mas malakas. Yung XX and XY. Yung Y, kasi yun ang naiba na nasa lalaki, is a source of like 65 deformities, sex-related deformities. I'm not a doctor pero ito yung maalala ko sa discussion. Na namamana ito, yung Y. At galing yan sa lalaki. So ibig sabihin, mas perfect pala yung babae in terms of the chromosomes. Kasi pag may diabetes ka, for example, it applies to both. Pag may diabetic pa rin, but yung diabetes is one of the ailments na namamana. Yung sakit sa puso, maraming sakit sa katawan, 65 of them, as I said. I will not enumerate. Actually, nakalimutan ko na yung iba. Galing sa lalaki yan. So, doon pa lang sa aspetong yun, sa tingin ko, mas malakas yung babae kaysa lalaki. Pag-usapan natin isang major indicator of strength between the two sexes. Sino mas may mahabang buhay? Babae, lalaki, base sa science. Sinong mas nabubuhay na matagal? Di ba babae? Base sa science to So hindi to joke. Base sa science. Okay. So babae yun. So in that respect, mas malakas ang babae. Doon naman sa pagluwal ng sanggol, babae o lalaki yung sanggol, sino ang mas nabubuhay? Kung may problema doon sa panganganak o doon sa sanggol, sino ang mas nabubuhay? Batang sanggol na babae o sanggol na lalaki? Base sa science ito. Ang mas nabubuhay, base sa statistics, I forgot the statistics, babae. So if you look at these two important indicators of strength, mas malakas yung babae. At nabanggit natin dun sa examples nyo, yung kayang gawin ng babae o ng lalaki, kaya rin mong gawin ng lalaki. Okay. So, pareho lang sila, di ba, halos dun sa example. Everything else, the man can do or the woman can do kung anong kayang gawin ng lalaki. So which leads me to my second slide. Grace, second slide. So ang sex, maliwanag pinag-uusapan yung physical makeup ng lalaki versus babae. Sa gender naman, so ito, kung maalala nyo lang ito, lahat ng sinabi nyo kanina, lahat na examples nyo pertaining to gender. Wala kayong example about sex. Okay lang yon. Kasi example doon sa sex, supposed to be yung panganganak. Pero dahil wala, okay lang naman yon. So lahat ng examples nyo kanina, I classify them under gender. Ano itong, pag sinabing gender ang usapan, ano ibig sabihin nito? Yung sinabi nyo, katang isip lang. These are social construct. That is the technical term. So, gawa-gawa ng tao. So, yung mga pinagsasabi nyo kanina, brave, responsible, breadwinner, faithful, buti may protective, masculine, feminine, haligi ng tahanan, and they both are attributed to each sexes. Gawa-gawa ng tao. Man-made or to be gender sensitive, woman-made din. Pwede rin galing sa babae. So pag ang pinag-uusapan gender, ito yun. Social construct. Culturally bound. Product of culture. Ito yung namana mo from generations before you. Ito yung na-embed sa sistema mo. So ang hirap itong matanggal. So halimbawa, gender differences are imposed sa lalaki, babae ito pag sinabing gender, babae, lalaki. Roles, ano yung role we attribute to a man or a woman? Sa bahay, yung example ko kanina, sino ang nagluluto? Role, uh, babae ba, lalaki? Sa bahay ko, wala akong kasambahay ngayon. Ako yung nagluluto kasi ako hindi marunong sa gawain bahay. So pag wala kaming kasambahay, and such is the case now, umalis yung aming kwan, yung aming kasambahay. At yung aming kasambahay, babae pa rin. Babae. Uh, uh, ako yung gumagawa. Sino naglalaba? Pero ako siguro yung exception. Sino naglalaba? The roles we attribute. Automatic, babae, di ba? Babae, si nanay, si ate, even if kayo, nasa edad na kayo, so you can help. Actually, sino ang naglilinis ng bahay? Sino naglilinis ng CR, ng sala, even groundwork? Sino? That role is given to a woman. Di ba? Housework. Lahat ng naisip natin, sino ang mamalansya? Ngayon, hindi ako namamalansya ngayon. Pero magaling ako mamalansya. Sino mamalansya? Di ba nanay? O sino papakain sa atin lahat? Nanay. Sabi ko nga, until she dies, remember? Siguro na lang pag incapacitated na siya. Can you imagine that, ladies and gentlemen? Until the mother dies or incapacitated. Kung kaya pa niya magtrabaho, she does this all her life. This role is given to her. Kasi ito yung nakagisnan natin. Culture bound. Ito yung nasa sistema natin. Part na ng persona ng nanay. Role, okay, sa office, nasa office tayo. What are the roles played by different sets? Yung mga profession, for example. What are they? Teachers. Ngayon, teachers. I think traditionally, we have women. Of course, time has changed. Bakit women? In many cases, yung pagiging teacher. Bakit? Kasi yung ginagawa ng teacher is still an extension of what the mother does at home. Okay? So yung pa rin ginagawa niya. Nagtuturo, remember yung gumagawa, tumutulong, gumagawa. No? Yung nagtuturo sa bata, sa homework. Siya yun, nanay yun. I think for the most part, nanay. In our case, we share. But sabi ko, I'm not the example here. Pero nanay, automatic yun, magtuturo sa bata, role. Kaya siguro, yung mga babae din, they become teachers. Kasi that, yun na yung socialization nila as they grow old. Yun na yun. So yun, engineer. Kaninong role yan mostly? Of course, times have changed. And this is not exactly what is happening now. Engineer, bakit? Ano bang kinalaman ng engineer at kailangan lalaki? If you look at the profile of DPWH, for example, and this I know, mas maraming lalaki engineer. Ano bang kinalaman ng engineering? Magbubuhat ka ba ng kwan? Ano ba to? Bulldozer? O rocks? Or whatever? Hindi naman, di ba? Hindi naman ikaw yun eh. Ikaw ba yung kwan pag may assignment sa faraway places? Bakit hindi ba pwede yung babae? Pwede naman din yung role. Pero bakit nga ba? Ako hindi ko masagot yun. Siguro nga dahil subconsciously, yung ginagampanan ng isang inhinyero, baka inisip ang lalaki. Pero lumalabas kanina, kung naging example lang ito, doon sa lalaki at pwedeng balik na rin ang babae, pwede. Pwede. Roles, responsibilities, ganun din. Yung responsibilities sa bahay, especially, yung pag-usapan natin like responsibility as a leader. Maraming leaders, even in our society, even in your school, I'm sure. Ako nagkataon lang sa office. Ako yung lalaki, nagkataon ako yung pinaka-head. But all of them, yung division chief, si Director Salim, yung babae lahat. But it so happened. But sa CSC kasi magandang ehemplo kasi may balance kami ng babae at saka lalaki na leader. Actually, in the regions, lahat ng regions, and even in the central office, mas maraming mga babae. But we are more of an exception. Yung pagiging leader, we attribute that dun sa lalaki. If you look at the three branches of government, makikita natin dyan, mostly lalaki yung and resources, sino may hawak na pera, etc. Product of culture, ito yung handed down from generation to the next. As I was saying, ako, I'm fan of the Cordillera kasi I was assigned there for a time, and one of the things I've done is to visit Sagada. Sino nakabisita na ng Sagada? So kausap namin yung mga tao doon. Sa loob ng bahay, ang in charge talaga, sa loob ng bahay, it is similar to all of us. Babae. Outside the house. So siya yung nag-hunting, lalaki. You cannot imagine during those times. Kasi mayroon pa rin mga nag-hunting ngayon. Mga headhunters. But they're hunting for meals. Nanguhuli ng mga wild boar, deer, kasi may mga wild animals in the mountains before, and even up to now, lalaki nga. Bakit kaya? Kasi does it have to do with physical strength? Mas malakas, yun ang pagtingin eh. Babae, sa bahay ka. Yung lalaki, dahil pagtingin, stronger, braver, yun eh. Pero gawa-gawa, tandaan nyo, gawa-gawa ng tao, gawa-gawa natin yan. Galing sa society, doesn't have to be true. Even if naging kultura na natin ito, hindi ibig sabihin yung mga attributes that we gave about a man and a woman are that. They can be interchanged. So, tatandaan nyo yan. Gender ito, usapan gender, gawa-gawa ng tao. Socially created, determined, and this is the most important part. It can be changed. Pwede mong palitan. Yung mga roles na pinagsasabi natin kanina, pwede yung lalaki sa bahay. Pwede. Pwede, di ba? I think even kami mag-asawa, maalala na, kasi pareho kaming gender sensitive. We would like to believe, even yung kids namin, yung may una namin baby is a girl. O, so anong laruan niya? Manyika lang? No way. Pwede ba siyang sundalo, ball? Yes. O nagkaroon kami ng second child, lalaki, pwede ba siyang manika? Oo, binigyan namin siya. Pero hindi matagal. Binigyan namin siya, pwede. Kasi pwede naman. Hindi lang ball. Pero yung anak ko lalaki, mahilig talaga sa cars up to now. Hindi siya masyadong sa basketball kasi may asthma. But sa cars. O yung car attributed sa lalaki, bakit kaya? Sa car racing. Kasi may kinalaman yung speed. Speed yun eh. So when you are faster driving, that requires what? Bravery, more bravery, which we attribute to men. O sabi natin kanina, it doesn't follow. Pwede naman yung babae, pwedeng pagpalitin. So malinaw yun doon sa dito, malinaw. Okay? It can be changed. Okay? Next. So, papalaganapin pa natin yung nalalaman nyo. So, anong issue rito? Automatic and mechanistic way. Parang, eto na. Hindi ka na kailangang mag-isip. Pag gawaing bahay, babae yan. Pag basketball yan, lalaki yan. Lahat naman kinalaman sa bola, baseball, tennis, whatever. Lahat ng sports, even cars, lalaki yan. Pero gawaing bahay, kay nanay lang yan, kay ate lang yan. Okay. Yun ang natural outcome. Tama ba ito? I think you should be able to decipher it on your own. Next. Okay. Usually this happens. Those who follow gendered social rules are praised. Those who defy or violate them. O babae, may mga babae like students, aggressive. They have their own mind. They speak their mind. Even their manner of dressing medyo hindi parang out of the norm, like nakamini sila or something. How do we look at them? These are the women who defy the norm. How do we look at them? Aggressive. Oh, mukhang game ito. Mukhang Di ba? Yun. Eh yung lalaki naman, nakuan, umiyak. Very symbolic yung pag-iyak eh. Because that is, yung pag-iyak is, is a manifestation of you showing your emotion. Pag umiiyak ka yung lalaki, anong pagtingin natin? Baka gay. So yun yun. Next. So ang hirap, ibig sabihin, ang hirap. You just have to follow the norm. Kasi baka may sasabihin ang society sa'yo. May sasabihin ang society, may sasabihin ang friends mo kasi they're part of the society. May sasabihin ng school, may sasabihin ang gobyerno, etc. So pag-uusapan natin yan. Ito yung socialization natin. You and me, you are not exempted from this. You're actually experiencing this, whether you like it or not. You have experiences, and you will experience this when the time comes, like conception, infancy, zero age, actually zero age pa lang, hanggang infant. Classic ito yung example na to. Classic. Sa mga babae, totoo ba to? Pink. Pink. At the end of the day, pink. When you're growing up, pink. Ito yung one, it is molded into your system. Yung pa rin, into your, this is so important because this is a classic example. Lalaki, blue. Tama ba? Yung mga gamit mo, babae, may touch of pink. Touch of pink. Lahat, damit, etc. Lalaki din, for the most part. Kami, we struggled with this. Kasi sabi ko nga, when we had our first baby, actually, before nga namin siya pinanganak, so conception pa na, hanggang nung lumaki na, siguro hanggang 3-year-old yung bata. When we go to the mall, ang unang tanong sa'yo ng sales lady, sir, babae o lalaki? Babae, yun ang unang tanong eh. Kasi, pag sinabi mong babae yan, ililid ka na dun sa area na pambabae. Lahat ng gamit, mapatsyupon, lahat, nakalimutan ko na yung maggamit. lahat, damit, pati nga diaper, lampin, may touch of pink pag babae. Even yung kailangan may bubutasan yung yung tenga to differentiate. Pink yan. Dun sa boy naman, ganun din. Anything that has to do with masculinity, they said, blue, yun. And ito yung dictated by the society. Kahit na hindi namin gusto, wala kaming magawa. Bilang magulang kasi yun na yung nandoon. Yun na yung nandoon sa mall, yun ang bibilhin namin. Even if you want, for example, a blue color for our baby girl, wala kami magawa. Kasi yung mga listahan ng mga gamit niya, dictated by our society, are mostly made of pink. So, and the same is true sa nung magkaroon kami ng lalaking anak. So next, implication, next na lang. Next, Grace. Next. Okay. Lumaki na yung bata, childhood. So before mag-13 ito. So 4 years old hanggang 12 years old. Okay. Ito may examples na to. These are representation. These may not necessarily be true at this time. Tatandaan niyo. But these are striking representations. Sa babae, no biking. Bakit kaya? Alam ko to eh. Dun sa, kasi I have cousins are very close my age. No biking, bawal sila. Pero kami, I can bike anywhere. Okay. Bakit kaya? Baka ma-diversionize ba? These are realities. No biking. O baka kung matumba ka, madapa, ay hindi ka, wala yung, what is this, your legs or your, baka magkaroon ng sore, di ka na pwedeng mag-compete sa Miss Philippines. Yung princess mentality, kailangan maganda yung walang bahid, walang sugat yung legs, etc. Well, yung kamay, lahat ng parte. Do not go out. This is very symbolic. Do not go out. Ito, nagdadalaga ka na eh, up to 12. Okay. Dito ka lang sa bahay. babae ka, should not be active or sporty. Okay, which is the opposite of what the men does. Yung climbing trees, this is symbolic as I said, but this is also literal. Ang pwedeng umakyat, kahit na it will endanger himself, pwedeng mahulog, lalaki, but not the woman. Kasi yung babae, unang-una, masisilipan yan, di ba? Reality. Yung lalaki, naka-shorts o naka-pantalon, maluwag yung suot, pwede yan. He can climb trees. And he is encouraged to climb trees. It means symbolically, the boy being more adventurous. He can play outside. So hindi na lang siya confined sa bahay. So kung tutusin mo, ano implication nito? Dahil yung batang babae nasa bahay, siya rin yung natututo ng gawaing bahay. Yung boy, hindi. Diba? Hindi. Madalang unless introduce siya kasi nasa labas siya. And I see this even in our subdivision kasi meron kaming basketball court. Sino nakikita ko nagba-basketball? Di ba, lalaki, 100%. Lalaki, nagba-basketball. Walang babae. At sinasabihan yung bata pa lang, do not cry, don't show emotion. O very symbolic again, do not cry. Sa lalaki. Ano mga implications dito? May nakalagay ata rito. Grace, sige lang kung meron. O sa babae, kanina, ang daming impositions, ang daming bawal. Do not learn rules of the game. Yung pagiging assertive, hindi na pa-practice. Okay? Kasi dito ka lang, wag mong gawin, should not be active. Yung physical development din, kulang, hindi katulad sa lalaki. Kasi doon ka lang sa bahay-bahayan o kaya manika. Limiting their opportunities to explore and develop. Ito yung wala. Sa lalaki naman, do not learn how to be nurturing. Ito yung sinasabi ko. Wala sa bahay, yung magawa yung bahay, hindi nito rin natututunan. Diba? Yung lalaki hindi. So automatic, binibigay yan sa babae. Okay? Do not show, like kung mag-asawa, yung lalaki later on, like in your, sa edad nyo, and eventually, may ilang taon na lang, and if you finally get married, yung mga ibang boys, they do not learn how to cook. They do not learn how to wash the dishes, wash the clothes, clean the house. But I'm not saying this is the norm. These are just examples. Okay, next. So lumaki na talaga siya, teenager na siya. Next, Grace. Limiting their potential also. And it applies to both. Kasi ang daming kulang dito sa girls, ganun din yung lalaki. Magkaiba lang sila ng orientation. O teens ka na. So 13 hanggang 19, eto na. Kasi pwede na mabuntis yung babae. Anong tinuturo ng nanay? Should be reserved. Okay. Bawal magpagabi. Mama, so nakikita mo lang gumagala-gala, lalaki. So, di ba? Wag yung questionin to. In men, I am saying, in some cases, this may not necessarily be true in your case. These are examples. Sa boys naman, boys will be boys. It is natural for boys to be aggressive. A boy has nothing to lose kasi ma-exploration na rito and being adventurous. Yung adventure na sinasabi ko, yung sexual activity. So you lose your virginity at a very young age or during this time kasi maraming mga exploration. And it's okay if you lose it. Actually, that is a reward. You gain your trophy, you gain your manhood. And the more conquest, the better for you. Wow, sikat ka. Ang daming dumaan sa'yo. This is how it is. So, baliktad yung orientation. Ano implications nito? Sa babae, dahil ang daming ang bawal at pinagbawalan sa maraming bagay, she grows up with a lot of fear in her. She grows up, ito yung worst, not trusting herself. Kasi you limit her capability, you limit her capacity, and therefore hanggang dito lang siya sa bahay or ano lang yung nasa bahay. And therefore, yung kanyang self-esteem is also low. limiting the opportunity for girls to be more decisive and independent. Kasi outside, like outside the domain of the house, ang dami nangyayari, ang daming interactions, which many of the boys experience. Sa sports na lang, the positive impact of engaging in sports, alam natin lahat ito. It creates assertiveness, tama? Uh, Kwan diskarte mo sa buhay na magagamit mo yan. Competitiveness. Pag nasa bahay-bahayan ka ba, do you exercise this? No. So yung competency, if you call it that now, you're able to slowly develop with sports. So actually, ang daming positive impact ng sports. Your independence, you're able to practice already. Kasi lumalabas ka na ng bahay. Yung liga ng basketball, and basketball is our example. Sorry to those who are not into basketball. Yung example, yung liga, it allows you even to travel outside your barangay, outside your town even. And if you're looking at other things, other places, that creates a sense of independence on your part, a sense of accomplishment that builds up your self-esteem. So tumataas yung self-esteem. But the other, orientation that you have, like dun sa sexual, dahil ang dami mo experience, o kahit isa lang, if you can do this to another, to someone, you can do this to another, and many more. So it is okay to be polygamous. Okay? Next. Okay, tumanda na siya. Okay. Girls and boys, infidelity is unacceptable. So hindi pwedeng mangaliwa. I have to say, when I was growing up, this is my socialization. I cannot imagine my mother to be na mangaliwa, to be an infidel. Pero okay lang sa akin yung tatay ko, mangaliwa. Di ba double standard yun? It is unacceptable. Sa babae, lalo na. In our society, harsh yung ating society sa mga babae na nangangaliwa. Kasi it destroys, they say, a family. So very harsh. Pero sa lalaki, okay lang. Kasama ito sa socialization natin. Ito yung pagpapalaki sa atin. And hopefully, that will change. A woman is complete when she is able to conceive and bear a child. So pag hindi siya nanganak, paano pag choice niya magdalaga hanggang pagtanda, hindi siya kompleto. Yun ba yun? Yun ang sinasabi ng society natin. Boys, natural for boys to be polygamous. Ano yung mga implications nito? Ito yung mga rules that we have imposed. Grace, ano? Meron ba? Implications? Okay, masamang babae. Pag ikaw nangaliwa, babae ka, you'll be condemned no matter what. You'll be shamed. Pero sa lalaki, wala lang, just a shrug on the shoulder. Look at our president, for example. Hindi lang isang presidente, a number of our presidents. They have bragged about womanizing. And what is the reaction of our society? Wala lang. Sa babae, wala kang kwentang babae. Pag hindi ka nanganak. O sa lalaki, kung makabuntis o mambabae ka, okay lang, palibhasa, okay naman, okay lang yan. It is accepted by the society. Next. So, ito yung this is what happens to us. Until we grow older, ladies and gentlemen, until we grow older, this is the kind of socialization we have. Kung hindi man galing sa family, kasi definitely, baka hindi man galing sa amin yan. Yung pagpapalaki namin sa anak. But there are other players in our society, ladies and gentlemen. Yung mga peers natin, for example. Yung school natin, yung government natin, the church even. These are key players in the molding of our minds and hearts on how we look at gender and how we look at the opposite sex. Or institutions, they contribute. Family, parents, girls given household chores, trained in housework. Tama? Kung hindi man nangyayari sa inyo, nangyayari pa rin yan sa ibang families O, yun ang tatandaan. Boys should be aggressive, go out, trained to be decision makers and leaders. This is so critical, especially, and take note of this. Yung mga lalaki dito sa ehemplo, sila lang yung natututo. So they eventually become presidents of schools, directors such as myself, uh, uh, holding higher position. Yung mga elective positions, mas marami pa rin mga lalaki. Kasi bata pa lang sila, they are trained to be decision makers and leaders. Marami rin namang mga babae, obviously, marami sa society ngayon nagiging leaders and decision makers. Pero mas marami pa rin ang mga kalalakihan. Anong implications dito? Okay, when there are limited resources for the girls, inuuna yung uh, uh, lalaki. Yung babae, dito ka lang sa bahay. Pag walang pera pampaaral, yung lalaki na lang yung paaralin natin. Kasi siya naman ang magiging breadwinner. Malala yung example natin kanina, breadwinner. Siya naman yun. So, ikaw, magpapaubaya ka babae. O yun ang sabi ng magulang. While boys should have the privilege to go to school. Ito yun. Kasi sila naman yung breadwinners. They become leaders and decision makers. Next. Baka hindi tayo mahabag dun sa video. Family husband. Husband who does housework. Husband who consults his wife for decision. Marami bang ganito. Husband who goes home early, walang bisyo, hindi lumalabas. Natatakot ba na malaman ng iba na ikaw ay mabuting asawa? Baka, kasi nga, yung society natin, harsh din. Baka under-desire to. Ridiculed by relatives and friends. Inaasar ng mga kaibigan. So, in a way, sa lalaki, it restricts them. It affects their self-esteem. Okay, next. Dami pa dito. School. Ito lang, isang example lang ito sa school. Courses for boys, engineering, medicine, architecture. Sa mga babae, girls, nursing, social work, secretarial, education. Anong ibig sabihin nito? Ito pa rin yung courses. But of course, there are changes, I tell you. Marami ng changes sa society. But this is this still applies. Yung mga nurses, social work. Bakit? Secretarial, education, pagiging teacher. Kasi extension pa rin ito ng ginagawa sa bahay. Like yung nursing, we have the best nurses in the world, remember? Siguro kasama yan sa orientation, socialization ng mga kababaihan. Sa bahay, totoo yan. We are the most caring, the kindest, and most credible nurses in the world. Not only here. Social work, ganun din. Okay? Limiting girls and boys' opportunity to choose. Okay? Out of wedlock pregnancy, pag pregnant yung babae, kick out siya. Yung lalaki naman, okay lang, walang sanction. Next. Church. A woman's virginity is sacred. It should be given. Ikaw lalaki, ito, ako, this is my socialization. When I get married, I want a virgin. Paano pag ikaw hindi virgin bilang lalaki? Di lugi naman yung babae, di ba? So the worth of a woman is her virginity. Pwede namang hindi, lalo pag ikaw lalaki, hindi ka naman virgin. Hindi nasusukat yung pagkababae dun sa virginity. Okay, wedding rights. Okay, next. Okay, girls should stay beautiful. Ito yung Cinderella syndrome. Use cosmetic products, wear nice clothes, stay thin. Okay? Kasi nga, yung attribution na prinsesa ka, dapat maganda ka. That is how we value the self-worth of a woman. Yung physical. Pag hindi ka maganda, because what's gonna happen, especially if you have a partner, iiwang ka na. So dapat magpaganda ka. Pero ito yon. Ito yung Cinderella syndrome. Gusto natin lahat, especially the girls, maputi. Maputing-maputi. Kasi nga, yun nakita natin sa classic story. So may implication yung mga binabasa natin. Okay? Boys should always be strong physically. Bakit nga ba? So they have to engage in sports. Hindi pwede umiyak, bawal. Bawal umiyak. Kasi, ah, bakit? Ano masama pag umiiyak? Is that a show of weakness when you cry? Baka hindi naman. At hindi talaga. Okay? Next. Government. Laws favor men o kakuntsaba yung government sa pagpropagate ng gender bias, all the biases. Yung mga batas natin, I will not explain this anymore. Favor men. Uh, uh, Men in general get higher pay at work, even during the pandemic. Studies have shown, not in government, but those working outside government, mas marami ang natatanggal ng babae pa rin. Mas marami nag-work na lalaki. At yung ibang babae, hindi pwede lumabas kasi nga, sila yung nagbabantay sa mga bata. Sila yung nag-aaruga ng mga anak. Sila yung doing house chores. Yun. Yung mga babae, even during the pandemic, they receive less than what their counterpart receive. Yun din. Okay? So what happens to them if you only see men in the picture? Sila yung aangat, obviously, babae, mapag-iwanan. Okay? At kung mayroon mang umaangat na babae, ang daming balakid. Kasi siya pa yung gumagawa ng housework, apart from working full-time. Example, if nasa office siya pa rin. Pag bago siya umalis ng bahay, siya yun, o nagtatrabaho siya, regular work, at pagbalik niya sa bahay, siya pa rin. So, ang dami niyang ginagawa. At yung lalaki, ibang story yun. Workplace. Okay, women in general, nabanggit na natin ito. Okay, next. That's about that. Okay, media also propagates the gender bias. Women, cosmetic ads convey that for a woman to be loved, dapat maganda, makinis, etc. So, ultimately, women should always be young and beautiful. Your value diminishes as well. So, yun yung sinasabi dito. Other product ads still is sa TV, even sa movies, even sa print, sa dyaryo, lahat ng may kinalaman sa papel. Sexy women in noontime shows. Mayroong the product may accompaniment ng babae. So, ano ibig sabihin nito? They're used as sex objects o pampagana para bilhin mo. So, they propagate the gender issue. Okay? Next. This is the last. Okay. You will watch, this is so important. I can do the lecture on this, but the video is more powerful. Grace, i-play mo na ito while I'm talking. Okay. Dito makikita. If you have notes, please take note of them. This was developed by our former chair, si Karina David. You're gonna watch this. I'll stop when it's showing. These are actually wala pa? Grace, can you play it? Manifestations of gender bias. So these are the faces. These are actually the faces of the gender issue. Ito yung pinag-uusapan natin. In the beginning, remember my first slide? Yung gender issue. Wala pa yung mukha sa inyo. Ito na yung mukha niya. Okay. Sige lang. Diretso na yung mga. Okay. Just watch them. Take some notes if you have. I'll synthesize it later. If I can, given our time. Nako, wala na time. Okay lang ba mag-extend tayo ng konti? So, medyo matagal to. With your indulgence.
Okay lang po, sir.
Okay. Because this is the meat actually. I'll be happy if this is shown, even without my additional presentation or lecture or synthesis.
Nanay,
Ate,
Mrs.,
kumare,
kasintahan,
kaibigan,
tita,
ninang,
yaya,
kapatid,
anak,
apo,
lola. Sa ganitong mga pangalan natin sila nakasanayang tawagin. Sa ganitong mga katauhan din natin sila nakagisnan.
at sa ganitong mga ginagampan ng papel kung kaya't naging bahagi sila ng ating buhay. Kaya din naman sa biglang tingin, tila alam na natin ang kanilang mga kwentong buhay.
Ngunit, gaano nga ba talaga natin sila kakilala?
Tignan natin muli ang ating mga naging karanasan sa kanilang piling.
At balikan ang ating mga bahaging ginampanan sa kwento ng mga babae sa ating buhay.
Babae ka, inaangat sinasamba, ipinagtatanggol, ikaw na may walang laya.
Marahil, isa sa pinakakilalang papel ng babae ay ang pagiging ina. Sa tradisyong ating nakagisnan, si nanay ay dapat nariyan palagi, nakaantabay, punong abala sa mga gawaing bahay.
My day usually starts ng 3:45. I cook breakfast. Usually yung first hours na yon, tense. Dahil 5:20 sinusundo yung si Via. Tapos until the time na makaalis siya yan, relax na kami. Sabay na kami nag-breakfast ng husband ko. Tapos kung may time, nakakatulog ako. If not, kung nagigising na yung son ko, nod-lod lang kami ng TV, ganyan. Tapos kasi nga I breastfeed, ayun, relax kami, siya nagdedede siya. Tapos saka I watch TV until mga nagiging busy na ulit pagkadalawa na sila nung kuya niya nagising. And dahil parang makulit So, from 3 onwards, it's either nag-assignment na yung daughter ko na ako yung nag-guide sa assignments niya. Dinner, nagpe-prepare naman ng dinner. Tapos, medyo magulo na naman kami dinner time. After that, ayun, tulog na sila. Ako naman yung naiiwan na naman para maghugas ng mga dishes, ganyan. It usually ends ng 11-12. Maswerte na pag nakatulog ako ng 10 p.m.
Ngunit, ano nga ba ang tingin natin sa mga gawain ng nanay?
Anong trabaho ng nanay mo? Anong trabaho ng nanay mo?
Wala. Marahil, ang tinutukoy nating wala ay walang bayad.
Kung susubukan kaya nating bigyang halagang pera ang mga gawaing bahay. Uy, ang aga ng time in.
Ang daming kailangang atupagin.
Aba, lagpas minimum wage na.
May overtime pay ba to?
Para sa may bahay, walang katapusan ng trabaho sa tahanan.
Wala akong regret kung pagdating sa mga anak ko na naaalagaan ko, nakikita ko yung paglaki nila. Siguro ang pinakapangamba ko lang sa lahat, yung baka hindi makaya na isa lang yung nagtatrabaho sa bahay.
Pero, para sa karamihan, ay walang halaga ang gawaing bahay.
Ngayon, karamihan ng mga babae ay naghahanap buhay sa ibabaw pa ng pagiging tagapangalaga ng bahay.
Kamusta naman kaya ang babae sa labas ng tahanan?
Ayon sa pagsusuring isinagawa ng National Statistics Office, mas ang sahod na inilalaan sa gawaing panglalaki kaysa pangbabae.
Sa lahat ng antas at larangan, ang sahod ng babae ay mas mababa kaysa sa lalaki.
Sa mga working mothers, hindi maiwasang pumangalawa lamang ang tawag ng trabaho sa tawag ng tahanan.
Kaya, ayon sa pagsusuri ng Institute of Labor Studies, higit na malaki ang pagkakataon ng mga lalaking dumalo sa mga trainings, tumanggap ng fringe benefits at umangat.
Halimbawa, sa mga kawani ng ating pamahalaan, sa kabila ng halos pantay na bilang ng mga lalaki at babae, mas marami pa rin lalaki na nasa matataas na katungkulan. Nangyayari ito sa gitna ng maraming balakid sa gawain ng mga babaeng naghahanap buhay habang siya pa rin ang tanging namamahala sa tahanan.
Ang mga balakid na to ay siya na ring naging kung bakit ang mga babae ay huling pinipili at unang tinatanggal sa mga tanggapan.
Saksi tayo sa iba't ibang pang-aabuso ng mga nasa mataas na pwesto. Ang mas mababang kalagayan ng mga babae at ang mas maraming lalaki na namumunot nangangasiwa ay nagbibigay puwang sa pang-aabuso. Ang mababang pagtingin sa babae ay maaaring humantong sa malaswang pagtingin.
Kung gayon, ang hindi pagpapahalaga sa gawaing bahay, ang mas maliit ang sahod ng mga babae, ang maraming balakid sa trabaho, huling pinipili at unang tinatanggal sa mga tanggapan, at ang turing na sila'y pangkama lamang ay pag-iisang tabi sa mga kababaihan.
Si Jackie, working mother. Ganito niya binubuno ang kanyang araw-araw.
Ayan na. Pero usually, sabay-sabay kami magbibihis. Tapos, sandali lang yun. Mabilis na mabilis lang. Pag alis nila, tsaka naman sarili ko na. Yun, magko-commute. Pagdating sa office, yun, we have transactions, deadlines, we have to meet the targets, the deadlines, tapos, tsaka kung may presentations, ayun, yun ang nag-ano sa day ko. We don't go home doon sa standard uwi ng office, mga 6, minsan up to 8, so it depends.
Para sa mga working mothers, hindi nagtatapos ang trabaho sa opisina. Pag-uwi, mga anak at gawaing bahay naman ang inaabala.
Pagka siguro pagdating galing sa school sa kanya maglalambing o yung manonood, sila yon. Pero sa akin, kunwari yung assignment, sa akin yon. Kasi para habang nagra-write na sila, yun, kakain na ako.
At nang makapagpahinga pa, marami sa mga working mothers ay nangangailangan ng tulong mula sa ibang babae para asikasuhin ang mga gawaing bahay.
Dapat yung mga kids, 9:30 to 10, dapat patulog na. Doon pa lang ako para mag-umpisa na naman yung gabi ko na manonood, magre-rest.
Ayon sa mga pagsusuri, ang mga lalaki ay nagtatrabaho ng 12 oras sa isang araw. Samantalang ang mga babae ay umaabot ng 16.5 oras. Ang 4.5 oras na lamang ng babae ay oras na nakagugol sa pag-aasikaso ng mga anak at gawaing bahay.
Kaya ba? Can we afford? Kunwari, let's say the husband lang mag-work. Parang sayang din yung benefits namin, lalo na we have free rice every month, 1 sack of rice every month, the medical benefits.
Kinilala na ng maraming babae ang kakayahang maghanap buhay. Pero karamihan sa mga lalaki ay hindi pa rin kumikilala sa kanilang kakayahan sa gawaing bahay. Sa pagkita ng pera at pagbayad ng mga gastusin, may partner na si Mister. Pero sa bahay, mag-isa pa rin si Mrs. Partner din ang kababaihan sa pagbuo ng lipunan. Paano naman ang kanyang pakikilahok sa larangang ito? Suriin natin sa isang kooperatiba sa Angono, Rizal.
Malaki ang naitulong ng Angono Credit and Savings Cooperative para sa mga kasapi nito. Sa loob ng 1 taon, umabot ng halos 32 milyon ang kabuuang nautang ng lahat ng mga kasapi. Sa halos 3,000 regular na mga kasapi ng kooperatiba, 77% nito ay mga babae, mga tindera sa palengke at may bahay, katulad ni Aling Gloria.
Matagal na, wala pa ako dito noon. Nadatnan ko na yung co-op na yan. Matagal na. Mas madaling umutang baga. Hindi kagaya sa bangko na madaming mga collateral. Yun, meron din collateral dyan, kaya lang yung TV lang, hindi kagaya sa bangko, kailangan may sasakyan ka, may bahay ka, may sarili kang bahay. Mas marami ang lalaki. Babae, mga around 2 lang yata, naiboto kong babae.
Taon-taon, 9 na miyembro ng Board of Directors ang inihahalal bilang tagapamahala ng kooperatiba. Sa kabila ng 3,000 babaeng kasapi, 2 lang sa kanila ang napipiling representante para sa Board of Directors.
Yan na kasi nakagisnan ko eh. Dumating ako dito at sa naging member ako, mga lalaki na talaga eh. Mas marami ng lalaki talaga doon.
Bakit kaya ganito ang kalakaran? Kausapin natin ang pamilya ni Aling Gloria at alamin kung ano ang pananaw nila.
Pag nagpapaalam kay mama, lagi yung sinasabi, magsabi kayo sa papa niyo.
Mas madali pong paalam.
Sa kanya?
Kasi pag kay mama po ako nagpapaalam, lagi po na sinasabi, kay papa po daw muna ako magpaalam. Kaya inuuna ko na po ang papa.
Nandun na nga yung sa kultura natin na ako ang lalaki, ako ang haligi. So isang magandang panuntunan, halimbawa, yun na makita ng mga anak natin at para maging halimbawa sa mga nakakikita nila, yung ama, yun ang talagang dapat magsumikap para sa pamilya.
Ang pamamalakad sa tahanan ay nasa salamin sa lipunan. Ang tatay ang haligi ng tahanan. Siya ang pinagmumulan ng desisyon.
Sa Pilipinas, halos pareho ang dami ng mga babae at lalaki. Pero ang pamunuan sa mga institusyon ng ating lipunan, sadyang lalaki pa rin ang nakararami.
Sa pagbubuo ng pamamaraan at mga desisyon ng anumang samahan, mas maigi kung nabibigyang pansin ang pangitain ng lahat ng mga kalahok.
Pero kung titingnan natin ang pamunuan sa iba't ibang larangan ng ating lipunan, hindi pantay ang kumakatawan sa pananaw ng mga kababaihan.
Ang ganitong pamamalakad ay nagmamaliit sa kakayahan ng mga kababaihan. Tulad ni Aling Gloria, ano nga ba ang ating kinagisnan?
Sanggol pa lamang ay idiniin na sa atin ang papel natin sa buhay, batay sa ating kasarian.
Mag-alaga talaga ng baby?
So, bensin na!
Ako naman ang bata ngayon.
Ayan na si Chong!
Hello, baby. Gusto lang iya ba tayo nag-dosachi?
Oh, hindi.
Ano pangalan nitong baby nga?
Rochelle Ann. Babae pala?
Bakit akala mo?
Naka-blue eh.
Kasi parang di ba pag baby, binubutasan na agad yung yung tenga.
Pero yung mga iba, yung mga girls na nilalagyan agad ng hikaw. Para alam agad na girls. Yung iba kasi talagang kahit wala pang headband, ay wala pang buhok yung bata, naka-headband na para ma-signify na babae. Alam mo, lagi kasi siya naka-pink, di ba?
Samantala, ang bata namang ito ay walang kamuhang-muhang. Itinatakda na pala ang papel na dapat gampanan.
Bibigyan kita maraming chicks pag malaki mo. Boxing, boxing!
Bata, paano ka ginawa?
Wag yan, panglalaki yan.
Konting pino, kababae mong tao. Huwag kang umiyak, kalalaki mong tao.
Boys, carpentry ang lesson ngayon. Girls, matuto tayong mangganchilyo.
Pare, usapan lalaki ito ah.
Usapang babae yan, chismis lang yan. Babae, sundin mo ang iyong asawa. Lalaki, mahalin mo ang iyong asawa.
Mahirap na kung sa lalaki yung paiasa ang family planning. Ikaw na lang ang gumawa ng paraan.
Kapag pumasok ang babae kasama ang lalaki sa isang silid at nagsara ng pinto, sapat na itong ebidensya para hatulan ng babae ng adultery.
Dapat mapatunayang binahay at sinuportahan ng lalaki ang babae bago maaaring hatulan ng lalaki ng concubinage.
Masinop ang paghubog ng lipunan sa ating kamalayan mula sa ating pagkabata hanggang sa pagtanda. Wala kang kawala. Kailangan sundin ang atas niya. Sa pagtimbang ng ating mga ideal mates or partners, ano ba talaga ang ating hinahanap?
Basta not smaller than me. Ako personally nung naghahanap ako ng boyfriend noon, gusto ko older than me. At least 5 years older.
Ayos lang sa akin na kahit ano. Siguro yung issue lang kasi doon na weird lang tingnan. Kunyari may isang 40-year-old girl na kasama niya isang 20-year-old guy. Weird tingnan. As dun sa society na. Pero ako ng mga tipo, bad girl.
Hair, halos hindi masyadong mahaba, hindi masyadong
Pwede po ko lang
tapos intelligent type.
Tsaka yun, natututo ka rin without, from his experience, from what he knows, from the books na nabasa niya, ibang insights yun. Nakakatuwa.
Dami natutunan ko sa kanya.
Kasi
may natutunan ba siya sa inyo?
Ano? Iba yun, yung stories.
Prefer ko yung ako yung dominant.
Ako, ayos lang sa akin siya magtrabaho, tapos na ako. Naalagaan ko lang yung family ko. Personally,
Dapat yung guy yung nagpo-provide dun sa family.
Actually, hindi ko gusto na ako yung mag-earn less.
Kung yung guy mas lamang sa girl, di ba wala namang masasabi mga tao. Pero kapag yung girl mas lamang sa guy, saka lang sila may masasabi. So,
Para wala na lang masabi. Kung kaya sinusunod na lang natin kung ano ang nakasanayan na.
Sino bang nagtakda ng lalaki ay makisig kung siya ay nasusunod at ang babae na may kaaya-aya kung siya ay sumusunod?
Ang lipunan ay ikaw at ako.
Kung gayon, tayo rin pala ang mismong nagkakahon ng pakikitungo ng lalaki at babae sa isa't isa.
May ipinupuna, pag-uugat, at bunga ang mula sa kamusmusan pa lamang ay dinidiing ang lalaki ay dapat mas mataas sa babae.
Sa ganitong pakitungo, maaring gawin ng mas mataas ang lahat ng gusto niyang gawin, humantong man ito sa karahasan.
I met him through my sister. Talagang botong-boto siya sa kanya. I know if you see him, everybody would say to him, he's really so nice. Nag-steady kami for 7 years and then on and off. Kasi away kami na, selos ako, tapos siya naman, yun nga, my God, mahilig talaga sa mga bar. When you see him, he's a quiet person. He's a quiet person, pero pag magalit, pag magsalita. Before we got married, I was working then in a travel agency. But when I got married na, yung concept ng parents niya, ng mami niya, lalo daddy niya na, ang babae, pambahay lang. Yun, you have to be a full-time housewife. So I allowed that to happen. And then yun, talagang parang yun ang tingin ko sa likod ng pambahay lang. So I look up to him. Taas ang tingin ko sa kanya. So I depended on him. Financially and everything. Parang, Mon, anong gagawin ko dito na sila yung ganito? Mon, ano, everything I asked.
When did he start physically abusing you?
Oh, from the time we got married, lumalaban din ako. But then, sometimes I start, sometimes he starts. Yun, nag-start na nung pag nagsiselos na ako, ganyan. When I throw things, tapos he would, talagang hit me na. They were saying, Dad, hindi siya magiging ganyan kung walang rason. So when I keep on talking na, when he hits me, lalaban din ako, of course. And then, he gets back by verbally abusing me, saying, ang tanga-tanga mo naman, wala ka namang ginagawa. Pasalamat ka, pinapakain lang kita. And then, he came home lasing na lasing. Lasing na lasing, and then I called up the woman. I tried to talk to the woman. Inintay-tingnan naman ako ni Gaga. So, usap kami, nagwala siya. Nagalit. He kept hitting me. Pinulot niya akong ganyan, he threw me on the wall. I can't fight back. Sabi ko, shucks, I was helpless. I was full of bruises. That was the last time he physically, pero it was terrible. He kept hitting my head. Wala talagang walang compassion sa akin. He hated me. Ganyan lagi yan. Pag nag-aaway kami, nasaktan niya ako, verbally ganyan, the next day, parang walang nangyari. He won't even say sorry. Parang walang nangyari. Kasi ako naman, siyempre, I live cycle na sa akin. Okay na, mahal ako ng asawa ko. Okay na naman kami. Ganun cycle. So, tahimik siya. Hindi say, wala na. I took out all his clothes, umuulan pa nung maambot. I threw it out. Sabi ko, get na maleta, sabi ko, you're leaving tomorrow for Jakarta, don't come back here anymore. Of course, masakit. Kasi love ko siya. Diba? Mahal ko siya eh. So, I tried to pick up the piece. I tried to, pero nahirapan ako. Kasi may confidence ko. My confidence was ganyan. My deepest wish, peace and respect. Peace, respect. O ba? Yun lang. Peace, respect, and love.
Kapayapaan, paggalang, pagmamahalan. Mga simpleng pangangailangan sa loob ng isang relasyon. Ngunit anong paggalang ang nauwi sa sigawan at panlalait? Anong pagmamahalan ang humahantong sa bugbugan?
Ang karahasan sa loob ng tahanan ay malupit. Higit sa lahat, dahil sa hindi ito inaasahan mula sa isang itinuturing na mahal sa buhay. Kung kaya't kadalasan, ito ay tago.
Ayon sa mga pag-aaral, 6 sa bawat 10 babae ay biktima ng karahasan sa tahanan o domestic violence.
Ang bawat babae ay nabubuhay na may pangamba sa isang uri ng karahasang kadalasang sila ang biktima at lalaki ang sumasagawa.
Nagsisimula sa tila maliliit na bagay, paninipol, paninilip, pambabakod, at hahantong sa panghihipo, pagbabanta, pananakit, at panggagahasa.
Two years old pa lang ako, nag-separate na yung mother ko at father ko. So, ako, nandun ako sa father ko. Ang kwento ng buhay ko, nung nag-start siya, 6 to 7 years old ako, nakaranas ako ng pangabos sa father ko.
Ang statistics ng panggagahasa ay nagsasaad na 70% na nanggagahasa ay kakilala o pinagkakatiwalaan ng biktima. Sundan natin ang pinagdaanan ni Andrea.
Lumabas ang nanay ko. Nito lang, 21 years old na ako. Wala na akong sinabi sa nanay ko. Parang inalis ko na yung galit ko sa kanya. Sabi ko, hindi ko na siya susumbatan. Gagawin ko na lang, mamahalin ko na lang siya. Nag-decide talaga ako na kailangan kong makasama ang nanay ko. Yung stepfather ko, alam ko, pupunta siya sa bukid nung araw na yun. Tapos, nanggulat na lang ako. Sabi ko, parang may malamig. Masakit. Nadaplisan yung likod ko. Tapos, sabi ko sa kanya, sige, magtatayo na lang tayo. Sabi ko, pagkahawak niya sa akin, nakita ko noon, may panyo. Tapos yung panyo, pagkaano niya, nakakahilo. Tapos nakakapanghina. Tapos nung pagkagising ko, sabi ko, ba't wala akong short. Tapos nung time na yun, tama-tama kadadating ni nanay. Hindi ako pumasok, namamaga yung mata ko. Ang pagising ko kinabukasan, nagwawala na si nanay. Tapos sabi sa akin ni nanay, ikaw, ang landi-landi mo, sabi niya gano'n. Tumawag ako sa madre kung saan ako nag-aral ng elementary. Nung hapon, pumunta, tapos yun, niyakap ko talaga. Tapos talaga ako, nagsampa ako ng kaso sa Tarlac. Tapos hanggang ngayon, hinihintay na lang namin yung hearing. Nung pumupunta pa ako sa mga hearing, nag-undergo ko ng psychology, psychiatrist. Yung marami akong gamot na iniinom nung kasi nga, feeling ko wala na talaga, useless na talaga ako.
Sa halip na suporta at simpatya, kahihiyan at panghuhusga pa ang tinatanggap ng mga biktima ng panghahalay sa mata ng lipunan.
Kaya naman hindi katakataka na maraming biktima ang pinipili na lang ilihim ang nangyari at hindi na nagsasampa ng paratang sa nanggahasa.
Kung hindi ako lalaban, paano na lang ang sarili ko? Sino na lang ang magtataguyod sa akin?
Gamit.
Laruan.
Tagabenta ng aliw.
Bahagi na ng pagbibinata at extracurricular activities ng mga lalaki, may asawa man o wala, ang paghahanap ng babaeng bayaran para ikama. Sa harap ng labis na kahirapan ng buhay sa Pilipinas, ang babae inilalako, inilalantad, iniluluwas pa sa ibang bansa.
Sa loob ng industriyang prostitusyon, halo-halong panliliit at karahasan ang ipinapataw sa mga kababaihan.
Nariyang gahasain ng paulit-ulit ng iba't ibang lalaki.
Nariyang saktan at bugbugin ng kliyente o ng bugaw.
Nariyang di lang ikahon kundi ibilanggo sa pugad ng mamasan.
Nariyang ibugaw o itakwil ng sariling mag-anak.
Kapag ang halaga ng isang babae ay ang kanya lamang katawan, siya ay nagiging parang kasangkapan lamang at nakakalimutang siya ay may isip, diwa at kaibuturan.
Siyasatin natin ang lahat ng pasanin ng babae. Pagsasaisan tabi, pagmamaliit, patong-patong na gawain, pagkakahon, at iba't ibang uri ng karahasan laban sa kanyang katawan at katauhan.
Lahat ng ito'y dumudurog sa pagtingin ng lipunan sa babae, pati na ng babae sa sarili. Nakakapanlumong pagsasawalang halaga.
Anong trabaho ng nanay mo?
Ilan sa atin bilang mga ina ang kusang nagpapaisang tabi sa pagdedesisyon sa bahay.
Pag nagpapaalam kami kay mama, lagi niya sinasabi magsabi kayo sa papa niyo.
Ilan sa ating mga lalaki ang nang-alipusta sa pagiging may bahay ng ating asawa.
Tanga mo naman, wala ka namang ginagawa. Pasalamat ka, pinapakain lang.
Ilan sa ating mga babae ang napilitang manatili sa bahay?
Of course, for 20 years I never work. Hindi umanda rin utak ko.
Ilan sa mga naging biktima ng panggagahasa ang nakaramdam na wala na silang halaga?
Kasi sabi ko, wala na talaga, useless na talaga ako.
Ang mga karanasang ito at ang pangamba na ito'y maaring mangyari sa kanya ay siyang krus na pasan-pasan ng bawat babae. Isipin at isapuso mo ang bawat babae sa iyong buhay. Si nanay,
Si ate,
si misis,
si kumare,
ang iyong kasintahan,
ang iyong kaibigan.
o ang iyong sarili kung ikaw ay babae.
Anong salaysay ang iyong natutunghayan?
Ano ang iyong papel na ginampanan?
Ikaw at ako,
Babae man o lalaki,
lahat tayo sa sari-sarili nating buhay ay may magagawa.
para tuluyan ang mawala ang krus na pasan ng mga babae sa ating buhay.
Abay ka, inang sinasamba, ipinagtatanggol, ikaw na may walang laya. Ang daigdig mo, lagi nang nasa tahanan. Ganda lang ng pakinabang sa buhay, walang sa'yo laging nakasana, harapin mo, buksan mo, ibang ang iyong pagkatao. Babae ka, alahati ka ng buhay. Kung ikaw ay wala, sanang buhay bumula. Napatunayan mo, kaya mong ipaglaban ang iyong karapatan at ganap na kalayaan. Sa iyong ngayo'y nagpaguman, harapin mo, buksan mo, ibang ang iyong pagkatao. Babae ka, dahil sa akala ay mahina ka, talagang ay di nakikita. Isip mo man sa lakas ay kulang, ngunit sa isip ka pinihayaan upang ang tinig mo'y maging mapagpasya, upang ikaw ay lumaban ka. Babae may tungkulin ka sa pagpapalaya ng bayan na siya natin simulain.
Grace, next. Very quickly. I'm sorry, wala na kayong time to ask me. Siguro ko lang very quick recap sa akin. and I have no time to process as well. If you look at my first slide kanina, gender issues permeate our lives. Yung mukha ng gender issues, ito na yung sa huli. Maliwanag, anim lang naman sila. Can you hear me? Anim lang sila. Unang-una, these are the manifestations of gender bias. These are actually the gender problem, the gender issues that we face. Sige, buuin mo siya ng yung universal symbol. Marginalization is the first that we've discussed. Makakalimutan niyo ito kasi this is really a technical term. Pagsasantabi ang ibig sabihin. Siguro ang para hindi niyo makalimutan ang gusto kong symbol ng marginalization na siguro embed ninyo sa sarili ninyo yung pera. Walang pera, pag babae pinag-uusapan nasa bahay, siyang gumagawa ng gawaing bahay, walang pera, hindi siya sinasahuran. Yun, mababang pagtingin sa babae. Marginalization. Hindi siya yung sa sentro, doon lang siya sa tabi. Yun ang ibig sabihin nito. Wala siyang pera, ah, hindi recognize yung gawain niya. Even if alas 4 pa lang or even earlier. Yung example natin, that's a real story. Marginalization. Pangalawa, subordination. This is political. Ang tandaan natin dito kasi ang haba ng diskusyon kung sino ang may hawak ng decision. And usually nasa leader yan, siya yun. Everybody else subordinated. And in our case, in our society ngayon, lalaki yun, lalaki. Yung leader natin sa Senado, Kongreso, sa Supreme Court, sa lahat, maraming ahensya, mga lalaki yan. So, subordinated yung babae. So, ang critical lang dyan is dapat you move up the ladder. Pero napakahirap kasi daming balakid nga. O pangatlo, multiple burden. Ang symbolism sa akin dito, para maalala nyo, 16.5. 16.5. That is the number of hours spent by a woman in the home. 16.5 of the 24 hours. Can you believe it? Every day of her life. Every day, yung nanay natin. Pagbalik mo naman sa bahay o kung nasa bahay ka, halika mo yung nanay mo. Yun ang sakripisyo ng nanay. 16.5 hours every day until she dies, until she lives. Ito yung ginugugol niya, multiple burden. Kung may iba siyang trabaho, pagbalik niya, siya pa rin yun. Siya yun talaga, lahat. And that is an example true in many cases. Gender stereotyping. Ito naman, to me, this is worse. And this you see every day. Pag sakay mo ng, ito na lang, sa mag-boyfriend, mag-girlfriend. O sino nauuna sa tricycle, sa bus? Yung babae, di ba? To protect, parang gano'n. Kasi mas malakas yung pagtingin sa lalaki. Pero ang power nito is it propagates na mas malakas yung lalaki. Ang nagba-basketball, lalaki lang, nag-i-engineer lalaki, nagdudoktor lalaki, primarily. Pero sinasabi natin, hindi. Pero nasa mindset, kaya powerful tong gender stereotyping na kailangan mapalitan sa utak natin. Kasi superior ang pagtingin sa lalaki. So pag superior yung lalaki, yung babae, wala siya. Pangalawa lang siya. Dapat equal. Kaya nga gender equality yung title ng training ng itong presentation na to. Pag meron ka isa nito sa sarili mo, and I'm addressing this to the male audience. Kung meron kang subordination, meron kang marginalization sa utak mo, sa damdamin mo, isa man lang nito or a combination of two, you will have the tendency, sadly, to be violent. So yung all forms of violence against women, nabanggit kanina, verbal abuse is a form of violence. Just because I'm a gender trainer, this is a constant struggle for me as a husband and even as a father to my kids. It's a constant struggle. It doesn't mean I'm clean. Lahat tayo may tendency to be violent kung meron kang isa nito. And ultimately, it affects the person of a woman. Lahat ng anim na to Para matapos na tayo. Uh, these are crosses carried by a single woman. All of the women here and outside, they carry this burden. So, araw-araw yan until, for a long time, until they die. Anyway. So, eto yon. Sir, eto yon. Gusto ko lang tapusin ito. Sana may, even if you're not doing this anymore, you do some reflection about what you've learned today. Personal, kasi we all have our stories to tell. Some are luckier than the others. Swerte yung iba kasi wala masyadong struggle sa buhay. Pero yung iba, serious yung problema and in between. So yun yung sitwasyon natin. And hopefully, gusto ko lang banggitin keywords doon sa kanta. Especially if you will have your own family, importante yung shared responsibility, especially sa lalaki. It starts pag may baby na kayo. Ang babae kasi siya nagpapadede. So automatic na siya ba mag-aalaga ng bata? Siya magpapatulong, siya hindi, dapat pagkatanggal sa dede ng sanggol, ikaw lalaki, ikaw pwedeng magpatulog, parang magpahinga yung misis. Shared responsibility. Even of course, definitely sa housework, you share the responsibility. Hindi naman kailangan equal as in equal. Pwedeng mas madaming trabaho pa rin yung babae o yung lalaki. May maglalaba, may magluluto, whatever. Basta you share the responsibility. Doon sa mga symbolisms, especially sabi ko, sa stereotyping, yung table sa bahay, o sino yung nasa, ang tawag din, parang leader kasi andun siya sa dulo. Yung lalaki automatic, di ba? Pwede naman pag pag-asawa kayo at you have your family, pwedeng bilog yung table ninyo para hindi madidistinguish na yung lalaki siya talaga ang leader. Pwede naman yung babae, and it doesn't hurt the men kung mas magaling yung wife mo. So yun lang siguro. These are the things that please bear in mind. And I'm happy we've done this to you. You can invite us. You can invite me for free kasi advocacy ko to. For a more in-depth discussion on this. Kasi iba talaga ang gender na usapin. Hanggang doon na lang ako kasi I'm eating so much of your time already. So from us in the CSC and OHRMD, nagpapasalamat kami for giving us the opportunity to share with you our program. So and sabi ko nga kanina, I'm so happy and proud that at least nakasama ko kayo. Thank you, Sir Dave.
Yes, sir.
It's yours.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, sir, for the very much engaging lecture you have given us. Very informative po talaga yung mga topics na narinig namin mula sa inyo. And although we have time, we have no luxury of time. We hope to invite you again in our future webinars that would focus on gender equality. Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah, thank you.
Sir, allow me to present our token, a certificate of appreciation to you. Ma'am Grace, mag-share po ako ng aking screen. Okay, we would like to award this certificate of appreciation to our resource speakers. Let me read the citation of this certificate. Certificate of appreciation presented to Attorney Rosalita Rances Pitata, Director 3, Office for Human Resource Management and Development, for her highly esteemed contribution as resource speaker during the Civil Service Commission online lecture on ethical standards for future public officials and administrative professionals. conducted by the Civil Service Commission, thus supplementing the learning activities and experiences of the students involved in the legal office internship program of the Polytechnic University of the Philippines, Lopez Quezon branch, presented this 26th day of February 2021 via Zoom application, signed by yours truly, Devimar V. Marcaida, OJT coordinator, and Director Rufo N. Buesa, our branch director and head of academic programs. Thank you very much, Attorney Ma'am Pitaka, for the wonderful time you shared with us.
Thank you, PUP.
And the same citation is hereby presented to Mr. Fernando M. Porio, Director 4, Office for Human Resource Management and Development, for his highly esteemed contribution as resources speaker on the topic Gender Sensitivity and Equity in the Workplace. Thank you so much. We will be sending this the plaque of appreciation through a courier service. Hope to reach the plaque of appreciation to you in the next few days. And together with that is a certificate of appreciation to your office. So we are sending you 3 certificates from PUP. Again, in behalf of PUP, I was talking to our branch director earlier. He would like to join, but he has an ongoing webinar on ISO, okay, for PUP. So he wasn't able to make it attending our session today. But thank you very much, Ma'am and Sir, for the wonderful time and you have shared to PUP. Thank you, Ma'am Grace, for organizing this meeting for us. Maraming salamat po, and we hope to see you again in our future activities.
Likewise, thank you very much, Sir Dave and the rest of the students and all of you. Thank you very much. Sige. Grace, anything else?
None, sir.
Pwede ho tayo mag-photo op, Ma'am and Sir, for
sure.
bago po tayo maghiwalay. I stopped sharing ko na po. Okay. Yung pong iba kong estudyante baka naubusan na ng load. Wala na silang hindi na naka-open yung kanilang video. Okay. Okay, okay, thank you very much sa aking mga kasamahang faculty na nandito pa at sa mga kasamahan kong empleyado ng PUP Lopez. Maraming salamat po for staying until the end of this webinar. Okay, photo opportunity po tayo. Ken and Ms. Ofancia, please do the screen cap of our participants. Okay, next group po tayo. 3 groups tayo. Okay, hold on po. Okay, next group. Okay, next group po tayo. Okay. Well, I think that's all for now. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Sir Dave and the students. Thank you so much po.
Salamat po. Thank you po.
Thank you.
I think this ends our webinar this afternoon, and we hope to see you again. Keep safe, everyone. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye. Ma'am Grace, thank you so much po.
No problem, sir.
Okay, pwede na pong mag-leave yung mga students natin. Thank you po.